Forgot I needed a microphone for this part of the show.
That's what happens when people move stuff around instead of leaving it where it's supposed to go, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. How's everybody? Everybody good? Everybody just having a delightful day? I hope everybody just kicking butt and taking names across the beautiful upstate of South Carolina. I certainly hope so. I am Rob Brown. How you doing? Across the metaphorical glass from me today, in charge of not just this radio show, but every radio show that you like, is the great one himself. Lonzo's in the building. What up, Zoe?
Don't worry about me. I can handle that pressure. It's what I do.
I have to tell you, great one. Twitter was interesting for me yesterday because I stumbled upon a take that I agreed with, and I amplified that take on my Twitter account. And since then, my Twitter account has been under fire from the masses, but I stand ever so diligently upon my take.
What would that take be, Rob? Because I wonder if I'm going to agree or disagree.
Bagels are overrated. Vastly, overwhelmingly overrated. I am tired of people trying to convince me that bagels are anything more than the tortilla chips of the bread world. Okay? Bagels, they're fine. They're fine. But nobody just has a bagel and is like, I am happy and satisfied with this selection. They're nothing more, much like a tortilla chip, than a delivery tool for whatever it is that you actually want to eat. And I know that is true because our guy Mike Stathakis, who's a food guy, right? Runs Stacks Original, one of my favorite places to go eat. He hit me back with a Jim Carrey gif of Jim Carrey going, oh, come on, with the response, bagel bites, bagel chips, cinnamon raisin bagel in New York City with a good cream cheese, turkey sandwich on a bagel with a boat ton of mayo, Asiago cheddar bagel with a garden vegetable cream cheese, sausage, egg, and cheese on a bagel. Right. My response to him was, everything you just listed is about the thing that's on the bagel, not the bagel. A bagel is a boring donut. A bagel is a donut if you take all the stuff that makes donuts good away from it. Donuts are good because they're fried and they're glazed and they've got icing and they've got filling and they've got all that. A bagel is like if somebody who hates happiness was like, how do I make the worst donut? I got it, a bagel. Everything that I got hit with yesterday as a response was, well, you've obviously never had a legit bagel. No. The best bagel is not as good as an Olive Garden breadstick. The best bagel is not as good as one Olive Garden breadstick until you start piling toppings on top of the bagel, at which case at that point, it's not about the bagel anymore. At that point, it's about the stuff on the bagel. Bagel bites are good. Why? Because it's pizza on a bagel, and you can have pizza anytime. That's why bagel bites are good. Cinnamon raisin on a bagel. What's good about a cinnamon raisin bagel? The cinnamon and the raisins, not the bagel. Bagel in New York City with the good cream cheese. You know, you can put cream cheese on anything. Doesn't have to be on the worst kind of bread. I had no idea that there were so many bagel fans out there, but I'm standing on this hill with my sleeves rolled up and my flag planted firmly. Bagels are overrated. They are the worst bread.
All right. So really quick, I agree with you. I want to say that I am one of the most patient persons you've ever met in your entire life. I'm talking about you, the collective listeners out there. If you've heard me it's been over 25 years on the air, 23 here in this building. And Admiral Akbar just going off in my head for you, Rob, because this argument about bagels is the same argument I've had about grits. The same exact argument. Everything you just said is what I've been saying about grits forever. And grits and bagels are the same thing. They're not good alone. They're only good if you put something on top of it. All the defenders say, yeah, but what about this? What about bagel bites? What about shrimp and grits? What about all this? It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. And I believe even you have come at me about my take on grits, and you just had the same exact take on bagels, and you're absolutely right. Bagels and grits are the same thing. They're not good alone. They have to have something with them. Kind of like me doing a show on my own. It's not that good, but if you add Rob Brown into it, look out. It's award winning.
I am the seasoning to your grits.
All right. Tracy on stream, by the way, you can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, some other source, secret,
YouTube,
deep state source.
The dark web.
Yeah, that's it. The dark web. Because we're
Skynet.
We're big. We're definitely big on Skynet.
We're probably on HBO Max somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those hidden codes that they don't tell you about, but some hacker discovers it. Tracy says that she likes or that he likes playing. I can't see the picture. I can't see if it's Tracy likes plain grits too. I know. It's just weird. So you like eating bagels and grits. I'm not trying to steal your thing here. I'm really not. But you finally come around to my way of thinking on something, and it's a glorious day. And I saw this on Twitter last night. I'm like, finally Rob gets it. Finally he gets it. Finally we can look across each other and go, good day, sir. We are on the same page.
So I would push back a little bit.
A lot. You plain grits people? Do you also like plain bagels? Because you're as boring as Jokovic.
I will push back a little bit, not a lot, because I actually kind of agree with your analogy. I do. I actually kind of agree with it. For me, when I have grits, like what is making the grits is like the little chunks of ham that are in there, just the little dash of sugar on the top. If I'm feeling real freaky, I'll throw some like sausage gravy on top of the grits, right? Grits and gravy, grits and a biscuit. So I actually don't disagree with that analogy. However, I don't ordinarily go around trying to convince everybody that grits are like I don't try to talk people into believing grits are a great standalone food.
Right.
They're not.
And people can't do they try, just like with bagels, they try to do that, but always they have to mention, yeah, but have you had it with?
Sure.
Same with bagels. Have you had it with? If you have to say that on top of it, then the food itself, it's not good alone.
So I would actually agree with what you're saying, but I would go one step further and say it doesn't stop me from eating a bagel. I just need people to stop pretending like bagels are better than donuts. They're not. Like bagels are a fine standalone breakfast food. It's not. A bagel is a delivery tool for other foods.
So you know what a bagel won't do that toast or a biscuit or a croissant? I'm sorry, croissant will do? A bagel will not soak up whatever you put on it. So like if you have a local fast food,
worse, by the way.
Right. Like if you have a local fast food restaurant's breakfast sandwich, which is a bagel, all the grease comes out the middle.
Yeah.
Now, if you have it on a muffin or an English muffin, or if you have it on something else, it will soak that up. A bagel repels it.
Let's go ahead and put the cards on the table. Biscuits are superior. They have a better texture. You can put some flavor into a biscuit, right? And on top of that, biscuits are a better food delivery system than a bagel. The only thing a bagel has is over a biscuit is that it's bigger with more surface area, so you can put more on there. But you know what that means? It means I can eat more biscuits.
Well, and a bagel has a strength and a sturdiness to it.
Sure.
It does. It's not gonna fold easy like some other things are, but a biscuit made right tastes excellent on its own. You don't need butter, you don't need anything. Fresh out of the oven biscuit, but fresh out of the oven bagel is like, eh.
There's like, I am not a guy who argues for food superiority of this over that, specifically when it comes to culinary regions, right? Like, I love Southern food. I grew up with Southern food. I'm never going to sit here and be like, Southern food is by definition better than Northern food, because I've had some really good stuff in the city.
Yeah, there's
Boston,
a good portion of the listeners who would say that, though.
I absolutely.
A lot of regionalism.
It's not me. There is one place that I will say the South does it better, and that's the bread game. Biscuits greater than bagels, and that's not a question. That's a statement.
I don't know. My mom, my grandma, all my family makes some killer biscuits. Would you consider Kentucky the South?
Honorable mention. Close enough.
Okay, because I would put their biscuits up against anybody's biscuits.
Texter said, why do you like the Olive Garden breadstick? The things added to them. This is with the bread take, not a bagel take. Lonzo got you on the grits in LA. He didn't get me because I agree with him. I get what he's saying. I just still think grits are a fine standalone food, right? I think they're fine. There's nothing over special about them.
Yeah, what do they taste like?
The better you dress up a grit, the better the grit is.
Again, if you got to dress it up.
That being said, the Olive Garden the Olive Garden breadsticks are light and they're fluffy. Yes, they're just bread. But I'm saying there's no plain bagel that I can just go in and go, give me this bagel. Nothing on it, just the bagel.
Have you ever had an Olive Garden breadstick without the whatever it's coated with? I don't know.
Butter and salt?
Well, it could be olive oil. I don't know.
Olive oil, butter, and salt?
Yeah. I mean, if you ever had one that's dry, it's not
great.
No, it's not.
And it's still better than a bagel.
Yeah, you're probably
when
right.
It's hot and warm, it's still better than a bagel. UNC Chris says, I stand by you on this, Rob. Bagels are donuts and biscuits, ugly friend. Your friend has to take the bullet on. Yup. Bagels are just donuts, but like not hot. You get what I'm saying. Good call, Chris. Appreciate that. All right. You guys can be a part of the program today if you have a hot bagel take. Texter says bagel bites on the Georgia Southern campus will change your mind. They're like bagel French fries with the best dipping sauce.
Yeah, but you have to dip it into something. Do you eat them without that?
So like I get all right.
And what are they made? What are they made like a bagel, or do they coat them in something when they make them so it tastes like whatever the coating is?
It's like French fries. If you just cut up a potato and then deep fry it, you have boring French fries. You have bland, boring French fries. French fries are good because they draw some flavor from the oil. You put a little salt, you get a little Cajun seasoning or whatever you like, right? You sprinkle it on top. That makes the fries the good fries, the fries you go out of your way for. A bagel is just bread. You're trying to convince me that this is a worthwhile bread. It's just bread, dude. Bagels are overrated. Donuts are better. I'm standing on it. Let's take a break. When we come back, we should actually talk about sports on this sports show. And we will. We are booked from here on out. Coming up in the next segment.
Stop trying to cater to Ray, okay?
Ray. When we come back here in just a minute. Yesterday, the Southeastern Conference put out their 2024 opponents pool. You don't know the order that you will play them in, but now you know where you'll play home and away. So where the Gamecocks playing in 2024, more importantly, the SEC got rid of some rivalries and including a couple off of the Gamecock schedule. We'll talk about that. Then Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joins us at about 9:40. Then at 10 o'clock, we talked about Jokic being boring. Who were the most boring athletes that were great? That's at 10. 10:20, Savannah Leigh will join us from SBNation to talk U.S. Open, and we roll on from there on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. You've been missing an hour of the DA show, or you've been gaining an hour of the Rob Brown show?
No, I think that was a crack. It's, it's the, we're not going to apologize.
Innovation refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. I'm so proud that we've helped over 15,000 businesses claim over $5 billion in cash incentives. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. Every client is assigned a licensed and insured tax attorney.
All right, first glance from where you're sitting, what is that logo in the back of that window?
It looks like a dolphin jumping on the left.
It looks like a witch to me.
I see a dolphin on the left.
We're looking at the orange or red thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Zoom in. What is it?
Hang on. I'm working on it.
You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free.
Someone has something in their window in the parking lot. We're curious as to what it is. Or I was curious.
It's like a dragon, because that's a forked tongue. So I'm going. It's a dragon.
Maybe it's something anime. It does look
be.
like a dragon.
It's gotta be.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter to help you find the needle in the haystack. See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. We all know about the warehouse at Midtown's hamburgers, pizza, and wings, but now we've added meat and drink. Midtown's Southern Kitchen is serving up all your favorites.
I will tell you, Chris, we got solidarity here in this room about the bagels.
The bagels.
I'm curious if there's more of a lean towards bagels if you are from the north, which I am, but
It's not a poor bagel take, Chris. There are some opinions, bad opinions that people have ingrained in them based on where they're from. And I'm sorry, I love you like a brother, but you guys being New York guys and DC guys have it beat into you as children that bagels are good. I mean, they're fine. Like I said, they're just the tortilla chips of the bread world, right? Bagels aren't good until you start putting other things into or around them.
is it really is it just New York, or is it just the that whole part of the United States?
Take great pride in their bagels. When Courtney and I have been to the city twice in the last year and a half. Twice she has been super stoked about a bagel. Twice we've gone to a bagel shop, and twice I'm like, can I just have a bowl of the stuff they put on the bagel? Because I don't want the bread. Can I just have a bowl of the toppings? Like an ice cream shop. Chris said, yes, it is poor. Chris is just trying to get me kicked off the radio. Doug tweeted and said, Montreal-style bagels will change your take. Think delicious wood-fired pizza dough. Then you know what you should have, Doug? A pizza. You should have a pizza. You shouldn't have to be like, this food is like this other food,
I don't
and
know.
that's why it's good. If you want pizza, have a pizza.
Have you ever thought, I would like to eat delicious wood-fired pizza dough without the toppings on it?
I have officially riled up the entire front office of the Greenville Triumph at this point. Chris is putting me on blast on the live stream. Doug is hitting me up in the tweets saying Montreal-style bagels will change your take. Think delicious wood-fired pizza dough. Dougie Fresh, I love you like a brother. If I want wood-fired pizza dough, do you know what I'm going to eat, Doug? A pizza. I just get a pizza.
Yeah, not just the dough. You want the stuff that goes on the dough, and that's the whole point.
Never have I ever said, you know what sounds good right now? Some pizza dough. Some solid pizza dough. I've said that about cookie dough. But ever once have I thought, if I just take a lump of cookie dough or of pizza dough, put it over a wood fire, take it out, and then don't add, cheese, tomato sauce, pepperoni, ham, sausage, mushrooms, pineapples, whatever. I'll just eat wood-fired pizza. That's it. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Christian said John Harkes hasn't heard you. Otherwise, he'd be crushing you too. Again, there are few hills that I roll up my sleeves, plant my flag, and prepare to go full Braveheart on, but this is one of them. Texas said you're going to have these Sully Steamers lovers hit on this bagel take, LOL. I have heard multiple times about Sully Steamers. I've never been there. But again, twice I've been to New York City in the past year and a half. Twice the lady friend has been like, when we get up, let's go get bagels. Twice I have gone to the bagel shop, and twice I've been like, can I just get the toppings on the side? Like she likes I forget what else goes on it, but it's like tuna. It's like thinly sliced tuna or salmon, like fish, like sushi fish, piled up on top of the bagel, and then there's like cream cheese and like peppercorn or something. And I'm like, do you understand?
So what stops
you could
it?
Just put that in a bowl and eat that. It's called poke, and it's delicious.
What stops that from coming through the hole in the bagel? Is there like cheese on the bottom before they put the tuna and stuff on there?
No, on top of all that, you just put a hole in the middle. Steven says, Rob just said pineapple on pizza, and now after that, blasphemy. His opinion of bagels matters no more.
By the way, pineapple on pizza is good. If you don't like it, good for you.
Yeah,
it's still good. It's another one of those, I don't like it because other people don't like it. I mean, pineapple and ham on a pizza?
Delicious.
I mean, it's a great combination.
You really want to tang it up? Do you a chicken barbecue pizza and put pineapple on it?
Sounds good to me. Dude. Sounds good to me.
All right, let's get to some sports, ladies and gentlemen. Last night, the Southeastern Conference put themselves on TV on the SEC Network. They revealed the 2024 opponents of every one of their schools, including the new schools that, of course, would be Texas and Oklahoma.
All right, quick question before you get into this. So the reveal didn't even give you the exact days that they're playing these?
No, just who you're playing.
So this is just a setup so they can have another show when...
Schedule reveal.
This is just horrible. Horrible.
I don't know.
Hey, look, we're playing Florida. We're not going to tell you when we're playing Florida. You're going to have to wait till our next show.
Here's why this
Stay tuned.
Here's why this is important. Okay? Here's why this is important. 2024, the Southeastern Conference is doing away with divisions. Everybody is just round robin playing each other, and then the best teams at the end of the year. Good luck trying to figure out tiebreakers if we have like 4 teams that, well, I guess more like 3 teams that are undefeated in SEC play because they didn't play each other. We'll see. Whatever. Good luck figuring out the tiebreakers. That being said, it's more important because we knew that with an 8-game schedule, but no más divisions, we knew that we were going to be in a spot that some rivalries were going to stay and some rivalries were going to go. We now know which ones are coming and going. South Carolina has had this revealed as their schedule. We didn't have to wait long, Lonzo. I said next time USC plays an SEC game in Tuscaloosa, do you want to go? Well, that's going to be in 2024 because South Carolina has away games at Alabama, Kentucky, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt. They will play at home against LSU, Ole Miss, Mizzou, and A&M. You'll notice who's not on that list. A rivalry with Georgia that has been played every year since 1992 will not take place in 2024.
So I'm curious, if you're a fan of a team and you know you've been getting your butt handed by a team recently and they're no longer on the schedule, does it bother you?
I don't know. Does South Carolina, and I'm asking this as a question.
Because I don't know that it's a rivalry. I mean, it's just another SEC team. A rivalry, you got to win some.
I think it's a rivalry only in that it has been happening for 30 years.
There was a time where the Georgia-South Carolina score would be like 15-12 or something. It was really weird. Georgia decided to go and get themselves national championship better, and it hasn't been that way since then.
Yeah. Again, like you're right. It's not been a rivalry, at least in terms of back and forth. But again, this game has been played since 92. This game's been played 31 consecutive years, even if it has been lopsided in recent memory. That's kind of how college football goes, right? Like it's cyclical. One team goes on a run, the other team gets its butt whooped a few years in a row, and then at some point it flips around, and revenge is a dish best served with a big old plate of middle fingers next to it, right? So you lose the Georgia rivalry, but you keep a couple of others on the table. You keep Kentucky on the table. Good, because Shano v. Mark is a rivalry I'm getting into without a doubt. You add Oklahoma to the roster, right? We knew every team was going to get either Texas or Oklahoma. We just didn't know if they were going to get them home or away. Now we know for the Gamecocks, they will be traveling out to Norman to take on Brent Venables' Boomer. Well, maybe they'll still be Brent Venables' Boomer Sooners. We'll find out in 2024. I'm going to tell you this. Alabama, OU, LSU, A&M, and by the way, Clemson's on the road that year. That's in Death Valley. 2024 over under, Lonzo, 7.5.
I don't know. I saw Mark Ryan, that's his name, who can tune in 3 to 7 right here on the station.
With Mark Ryan.
Yeah. Diesel's on there too. Talking about how bad Florida's schedule was. There's no way Florida's schedule is as bad as South Carolina's is. What I mean bad, I mean
Difficult.
it's gonna be rough.
Florida's got Georgia, of course. They kept the cocktail party. Most of these teams kept their primary rival, so they kept Georgia. They've got Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Texas on the road. Then they're back home for Kentucky, LSU, kept the Florida-LSU rivalry intact, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. That ain't easy for them either.
When it comes down to it, is there an easy schedule in the SEC? No, there's not.
No, but there are some that are easier than others.
Yeah, and I would say South Carolina's schedule is harder than Florida's schedule.
How about this for Bama? They got to go to LSU, to Oklahoma, to Tennessee. They get to go to Vanderbilt too. Then they're back home for Auburn, Georgia, Mizzou, South Carolina, and remember that's 8. They have 3 more. One of their non-conference games, Lonzo, is on the road at Wisconsin.
Yeah, but it's Alabama. I mean, they're going to be one of the best teams in all of football every single year.
Correct. The only question is, do they get ground down? One team.
Alabama doesn't look at this. I don't think Alabama fans looks at it the same way as a Georgia fan or as a Florida or South Carolina fan. Georgia fans look at it the same way Alabama does. It's just like, yeah, we're going to win again this year. That's what we do. I mean, that's what the fans think, and they have precedent for thinking that.
So how you guys feel about the Gamecocks 2024 schedule? You are away at Alabama, Kentucky, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt. You are home for LSU, Ole Miss, Mizzou, and Texas A&M. So we know that we know what your setup looks like now. It's not awful. As far as the whole SEC goes, couple winners and losers, we get Georgia, Alabama in 2024. Yeah, boy. I'm in for it.
Well, you may get them 3 times, though.
So, no, you'll get them. You'll get, I guess if they both make the playoffs again, yeah, you're right.
If they regular season, SEC championship,
if they're 1 and 2 in the SEC,
and then in the playoff.
Keep in mind, Georgia, Alabama means one of the 2 of them is taking a regular season loss.
Right.
Right.
But 12 teams. So.
Right. So if one of them takes a regular season loss in that game, Alabama, let's say Georgia beats Alabama, then Georgia takes another L somewhere else. And like we could have tiebreakers coming to play. This is going to be chaos. I'm excited. I love chaos in college football.
I wish that was happening this year, but we got to wait another year.
So do I. We get Texas at Texas A&M. Good. Do you remember the last time Texas played Texas A&M? It was way back in 2011. Texas hit a walk-off field goal and sent the Aggies out of the Big 12 and into the SEC with a 27-25 loss. They have not played since then, and I know that we're nowhere near Texas, but Texas and A&M fans have been chirping at each other the whole time. You got scared of us. That's why you don't want to play us anymore, right, A&M? They've been chirping the whole time. Right from the get, Texas's first year back, they get named. And of course they did. Who else was going to be? Texas has got two rivals in the SEC, A&M and Oklahoma. End of discussion. Oklahoma's got two rivals, Mizzou and Texas. End of discussion. Let's see. We are not going to get Georgia, South Carolina, as we've mentioned. As someone with a little affinity in his heart for LSU, I was kind of hoping for LSU, Texas. That is a quiet, good rivalry that just never happens. We're not going to get that one. I think overall, though, looking top to bottom in the schedule, I actually think they did a pretty good job. I think they did as good of a job as they could have done without going to a 9-game schedule. I still think they should have gone to a 9-game schedule, but for not going to a 9-game schedule, I think they did about as good as they could do. I think that you kept a lot of the rivalries together. Arkansas, LSU is still playing for the boot. Alabama, Tennessee is still playing in the third Saturday in October. You're going to get Oklahoma and Texas getting a little bit of everything across the SEC. I think the rivalries being kept together, Florida, LSU, Kentucky, South Carolina. I know y'all don't consider that a big rivalry if you're a Gamecocks fan, but Stoopsy v. Shamo is going to continue to be great. I think they balanced the schedule out well. I looked up and down all of them. I don't really think that anybody got overly screwed, right? Alabama's schedule is brutal, specifically the road slate. LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, not in conference, but they also go to Wisconsin. That is a tough 4-game road schedule. But it doesn't really jump out as, oh, this is terrible. I'm interested in Georgia. They're away at Alabama, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Texas. They're home for Auburn, Florida. That's the Jacksonville game, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. Big part of what this looks like is Tennessee legit, right? Is Tennessee legit, or did they just ride Hendon Hooker to success last year? When we find that out, the entire balance could shift to this schedule a little bit. I don't know, man. I'm interested. Oklahoma, by the way, how about this? I will say one thing that some folks are going to be upset about, and I would be too. Oklahoma, they are away at Auburn, LSU, Mizzou, and Ole Miss. They are home for Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas, except for, remember, they're keeping the Red River rivalry intact, which means that game's being played in Dallas, which means Oklahoma gets 3 conference home games in their very first year. Very first year, OU only gets 3 SEC home games.
Well, it's like when you first start a job and you're like at the bottom and you got to work your way.
Yeah, but Texas gets 4.
Yeah, well,
it's like if you come to a new company, you're happy to work up from the bottom, and then you walked in and the guy that you were in your orientation with, you find out is making $12,000 more a year than you for the same job.
He's got a degree and you don't, and I mean, there's it's that sort of thing.
Who's been good more recently, Texas or Oklahoma? Oklahoma has.
Yeah, but who's their coach now?
Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Who? Not somebody in Brent Venables that. Let me rephrase that. Somebody that might not be their coach in 2024.
I don't know if that factors in or not, but
it doesn't.
I'd
be willing to say it doesn't. I don't know, man. How about Texas? Away at Arkansas, Oklahoma in Dallas, Texas A&M in Vanderbilt. Not a ridiculous road schedule for Texas, right? I was kind of thinking, watch the SEC send Texas and Oklahoma to the 3 most faraway destinations possible in their first year.
Tracy,
Welcome to the league, boys.
Tracy on the stream wants to know who has Arch. The bench has Arch, Tracy.
Arch and Quinn. We'll see what they do in the SEC. Imagine being one of those guys signing to play Big 12 ball, and then they're like, oops. Anyway, here's Georgia. Good luck, boys. Good luck. All right, what are your thoughts on the schedule as released by the Southeastern Conference for 2024? It's not the schedule, it's the list of opponents. I guess that's a better way to put it. It's out. Alabama's away at LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. They're home for Auburn, Georgia, Mizzou, and South Carolina. Arkansas will travel to Auburn, Mississippi State, Mizzou, and A&M. They will be home for LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. Auburn will play their away games in the Iron Bowl against Alabama. They will be at Georgia, Kentucky, and Mizzou. Auburn will be home for Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt. Florida will travel to Jacksonville to play Georgia. They are away at Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Texas. They will be at home for Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, and A&M. Georgia is away at Alabama, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Texas. They will be home for Auburn, Florida. Remember that again, that's in Jacksonville, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Mississippi State and Tennessee. Kentucky is at Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. They are home for Auburn, Georgia, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. LSU is at Arkansas, Florida, South Carolina, and A&M. They are home for Alabama, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Vanderbilt. Mississippi State away at Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. Home for Arkansas, Florida, Mizzou, and A&M. Mizzou is away at Alabama, State, South Carolina, and A&M. They are home for Arky, Aubie, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt. The Boomer Sooners, year number 1 in the SEC, they will play at Auburn, at LSU, at Mizzou, and Ole Miss. For home games, they have Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, and then the neutral site at Dallas. Ole Miss is at Arky, Florida, LSU, and Carolina. They are home for Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and OU. As we mentioned, the Gamecocks away at Bama, Kentucky, OU, and Vandy. Home for LSU, Ole Miss, Mizzou, and A&M. Tennessee is away at Arky, Georgia, OU, and Vandy. They are home for Bama, Florida, Kentucky, and Mississippi State. Texas, and year number 1, Arky, Oklahoma, that's the Dallas game. Texas A&M and Vandy are their away games. Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, and Mississippi State at home. A&M has Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, and South Carolina away, and Arkansas, LSU, Mizzou, and Texas at home. And Vandy catches Auburn, Kentucky, LSU, and Mizzou on the road. Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas at home. So there's your 2024 look. You got any thoughts? I want them. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-M. When we come back, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joins us on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
How many times can you say rip? Ripping.
Who's the best rip?
Hamilton.
Torn. Oh.
What sports you win entertainment? That's the first rip that popped into my head.
It was mine too, and then I'm like, there's got to be another rip. And then I went to Rip Torn. Mainly because Rip Torn. Come on, man.
Rip Torn. I never really thought about that.
Come on, man. Rip
this morning.
Torn.
I seriously never thought about that till this moment.
All right, guys, we're going to go off for a minute till we get Rashad back in here. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
I think we got paid last week, actually.
What's up, Rashad?
What's going on, man?
You know what? You can't hear him if you don't turn it
Like
on.
that is
Yeah,
correct.
that's you got. There's
You
a
guys see me
button.
now?
There
Yeah,
you
no,
go.
it wasn't you. I didn't push the button. It's my fault.
What's up, big fella?
All good, man.
How you
All
feel
is
about
well.
bagels? We're having a fight about
Uh,
bagels this morning. I say they're overrated as hell.
Yeah, I'm not a huge bagel guy. You know, get some cream cheese and whatnot. Hey, every now and then, but I'm not dying for a bagel.
Never woke up and been like, "Yo, bagels are today's breakfast." Yeah.
No, not a big bagel guy. But I'm not a big breakfast guy as a whole. I don't eat breakfast
I don't
for the
either.
most part.
I don't either.
You guys are weird. It's the best meal, the most important meal of the day.
Everybody says that. It's really not.
They said it on Saturday morning cartoons and Schoolhouse Rock and stuff, so it's got to be true.
Bugs Bunny said.
No, it was never Bugs. It had to. It's a PSA. PSAs never lie.
I'm never hungry in the morning.
I don't think I've ever been in a room, figuratively or whatever it is, with two people who don't eat breakfast.
Yes, you have. It's just
Yeah,
not
it's not a thing, man.
Yeah. It's not a regular.
I am
topic
not
of
the weird
conversation.
one here. All right, I am, but it not when it has to do with this. People on the stream, do you eat breakfast? I'm curious.
It's Thursday, and on Thursdays, we talk Carolina Panther football. We do it again now as we welcome in one of the hosts of the Panther Nation podcast. You can follow them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. You can get at them, however, the whole podcast on YouTube by searching and subscribing to the Panther Nation podcast. They are live and drop more info than anybody else. My guy, Rashad Beard's in the house. What's up, big dog?
What's going on, man? This is summertime, kids out of school. You know, lots of free time now. What's up?
Free time. Sounds nice. Sounds nice.
I'll quit acting like you do something major. That's I mean, you're going to sports, and I know you got a lot of jobs
Still
and everything,
work.
but you're still going to sports.
Still work.
Okay, all right,
Still work.
all right.
I work, son.
The armada out there who driving for a living, they don't feel sorry for you.
Don't have to. Still work. All right, Rashad Beard's here talking a little football. And obviously, first things first, Shad, QB1. How we feel about Frank Reich naming BY QB1. We didn't even make it out of OTAs. We were sitting here setting over under at week 3. My dog got QB1 before OTAs were over.
Yeah, bro, and I love it. What a stark difference from the other guy we had, you know, having a 4-way QB competition all the way through training camp, not knowing who the guy's going to be. I love this, man. I love that Frank Reich went out there and said, hey, Bryce is going to – we drafted him for a reason. He's the guy. Let's not belabor the point. It's QB1. Let's get it over with. No drama. Get them the reps because they're all important. Every rep is important, and I love this. This is the smart football play by grown-ups in the building, and I love it. Love it.
QB1 is BY. Gonna get the nod. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I feel for Andy Dalton. Like, I thought Andy was gonna get like couple of weeks, go out there, prove you're still a top flight backup. Maybe a team gets like desperate, needs a bridge next year. He gets one more contract, but gets beat out by the Rook before we even put on shoulder pads.
Yeah, I mean, Dalton, listen, he knew what he signed up for when he came here. They told him, I'm pretty sure they were very clear with Dalton. And you listen to his press conference, you can kind of hear him mention that. Like he knew that he was going to be a backup here, and he's accepted that role. And it's good for him. You know, I don't want Dalton starting, especially we have Bryce Young here. But there's no point in him being the starter. I think he's a capable guy in relief. If something happens to Bryce, I think we're going to be in solid hands. But man, Bryce is the guy. Let's get it done. Get him the reps, and I love it. Shout out to Dalton for accepting his role.
Rashad
And shutting
Beard.
his mouth. Knowing his role and shutting his mouth.
That is 2 references from The Rock in 2 days. We are just killing it here on the show, ladies and gentlemen. All right. We saw yesterday that, and I blank on what writer it was. I gave him his credit yesterday, so whatever. But he listed Ike Ekwonu amongst the the next group of NFL players on the rise. And my thought was, yeah, I said that like week 5 of last year before he went on a 10-game tear of not giving up a sack and having a run block win rate of like 91% or something ridiculous. Look, on one hand, like I'm glad everybody else is starting to see what this kid is doing, but that pick's been justified, right? Like that pick's been justified.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love what Icky's doing. He had a rough go last year to start. He started out pretty rough. I think he gave up a couple sacks in the first game, but then he got it together and started to. And you saw what we wanted to see. He developed over the course of the season. Excellent run blocker. We knew that, and as soon as we started to play to his strengths, you saw him start to pan out. And I think he's going to get better and better in pass sets. And I think that offensive line as a whole is going to start to gel. You know, those guys are starting to develop some chemistry. It remains to be seen what's going to happen with Austin Corbett. He's, dealing with some injuries and it's probably going to miss some time, but the rest of that line is intact. And yeah, Icky, yeah, for sure. And listen, it's been so long since we drafted a left tackle. I almost forgot what that looks like. But for him to come out there and continue to develop and get better and better every week we couldn't ask for anything better from Icky. So he's going to continue to get better, and I'm looking forward to it.
We are talking with Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast. Full OTAs. We have seen a couple of good things, but I got a message yesterday from a cat that said, BY got some balls batted down. Doesn't this show you that the concerns about height are justified? And my answer was no, because you had O-lineman and D lineman not wearing pads, not going anywhere close to full speed, certainly not putting hands on QBs, which means D linemen are learning how to play the pass game, which includes getting your hands up and impacting trajectory, etc. It's not the way it's going to be when we get full contact. I'm not going to panic about that until we get the first full contact practice. If it starts happening, then we got a problem. People need to not panic right now about that, right?
Yeah, that's no need to panic about that. If you watch the practices, you can see that the pass rushers are not going full speed at the quarterback. So what do? They stand back, they put their hands up. And Frank Reich mentioned this in a press conference. He said, hey, I'm surprised they're not more batted balls because guys aren't sitting back and just putting their hands up and knocking passes down. So listen, I'm not looking into it. I saw a batted ball at practice when I went. Not a big deal. Batted balls happen by every quarterback. It is what it is. I think Bryce is going to be smart enough to find those passing lanes as full contact comes along. I'm not worried about it one bit, and no Panthers fans should be worried about it. Everybody's looking to jump on the he's short train. You're looking to find some sort of excuse to pile on about Bryce Young. You're not going to find it. He's great. Let's just witness greatness and stop complaining and stop looking for something to complain about.
Damn, Rashad got a little heated right there for just a
Listen,
second.
Man. Sick of it, man. I'm sick of the side stuff. Listen, they're just looking for something. You can't wait to pile on Bryce for being short. He's going to be great. Everybody just relax. He's going to be fine.
We considering that a promo, Lonzo? I think that was a promo.
It will be.
I think Rashad.
Yeah, I just wrote it down.
Rashad found his heel. I like it. All right, we got a couple of minutes left here with Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast. Last week, the Vikings cut Dalvin Cook. And I started seeing the articles pop up about how Carolina is a great fit. Vegas had Carolina as the 3rd highest betting favorite to land Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook's a great player. Dalvin Cook's a hell of a screen-catching running back. Very solid out of the backfield, too. But my thought was, dude's 28. He's on his way to that 30 years of age benchmark, and he's going to be looking to get paid as much as he was getting paid in Carolina, which works out to be more than you paid Miles Sanders, who just played for a Super Bowl last year. My response to the folks saying Dalvin would be a fit is, yes, he would be, but that money would be better spent elsewhere. Another edge rusher to supplement Brian Burns on the other side, another cornerback, fingers crossed, in case J.C. Horn goes down long-term again. There are better places to put that $14 million a year than another guy who plays the same game as Miles Sanders does.
Yeah, didn't we just go through this exercise of paying running backs a large amount? You see how that worked out? As you can see, every team is starting to catch up. They're starting to regret these large contracts for running backs. The game is changing. The guys are putting the running back is the most replaceable position in football, and there's no need for you to go out and pay a running back $10+ million per season. I mean, you got Miles Sanders, who's a serviceable running back. That he's actually going to be underpaid due to the production that he's going to put up with being a 3-down back. I think Dalvin Cook is going to go to Miami. All signs point to that. He's from Miami. He wants to play for Miami. I think they're going to figure out a way to get him. So I think, like you said, I agree. I think he'd be a great fit, but I'm not for paying running backs more than $10 million per season. Just doesn't make sense from a team building standpoint.
Could not agree more. Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. Follow them on social media at Panther Nation PC, but more importantly, get to YouTube, search and subscribe to the Panther Nation podcast and the Rob Brown Show. They put out new videos. What you guys got going up in this week?
Yeah, so we just released Panther Mania. It's a trivia contest for Panthers fans. So if you want to join that, check out the link on our Twitter at Panther Nation PC to join that. Going to be giving away a prize for the winner. It's going to be fun. Lots of fun. Test your knowledge on the Panthers. Also coming up, we're going to be covering training camp soon. So training camp is coming around the corner. We're going to be out there live covering it and, follow us. So it's a lot of stuff going on. Just because it's the off season, we're still going live every Tuesday at 8:30. So check us out.
September 18th, Monday Night Football. See you there, fella.
Hey, let's do it.
There it is. Rashad, we'll talk to you next week, big dog. Appreciate it.
Peace out, guys.
Rashad Beard, again, follow them on YouTube at Panther Nation Podcast. We are back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. So I'll tell this story on the stream. The fiance and I had a discussion earlier this week that we need to be better about dating each other, right? Like we need to do stuff together, not just sit on the couch every night and play on the phone. So yesterday she said, can we go get a massage together after I get off of work? And I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, for sure. So we went and got massages together. We did a 30-minute foot and leg massage. And I want you to know, I love my fiance so much, I let a stranger rub my feet for 15 minutes.
Wow.
Do you understand?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I love her so much, I let a stranger rub my feet because that's what she wanted. And then we did a 30-minute back massage, right? Like deep tissue and hot stone massage, which I'd never done that before. But here was the part that was weird.
aside from a stranger rubbing your feet.
Right.
I mean, weird for you is what I meant.
I've gotten 100 massages in my life. I'm a big fan, right? I'm a big fan. So the lady who's doing my massage yesterday, I'm like face down on the table. And you hang your arms off the edge of the table while they work on your shoulders or whatever. So she's going to work on my shoulders. And this is relatively normal. But usually they stand at the front of the table, right? So like your head's here and they work your shoulders like this, right? This lady put both of her knees up on the table and was kneeling to get into my back. So her knees, like I'm face down, her knees are here and like that, right? Her groinal area is like rubbing against my hair. And I'm like, I think I'm more tense now. I think I'm worse now than I was when you started. That being said, she did that because when I walked in, they're like, how much pressure do you want on your massage? And my answer is always, I want to think you hate me, right? Like I want you to do it like I owe you money that you never are getting back. So she is like kneeled on the table and like putting every ounce of weight she has into my back. But then it got weirder because they ask you like, what is there anywhere you want us to focus on? And for me, it's my lower back. My lower back is always giving me fits. So she goes, I'm going to work on your lower back now. And I was like, absolutely, go to town. Like, this is like, I want you to hurt me. So I'm laying there on the table. And then I Like she moves the towel so it's like around my butt, but my lower back's out. And then she gets on the table and straddles one of my legs. So like she's on the table straddling my leg and she's working my back, right? Which I'm not going to lie, it was great. And then her hands go away for a second. And I'm like, all right. I'm face down, so I'm not worried about the Robert Kraft treatment, right? And then after her hands go away, Lonzo, I just feel in my lower back.
Oh.
She starts punching the hell out of my lower back like she's in a Bruce Lee flick. And I'm like, all right, this is a thing. All right. So then she goes to do the legs and like down to your ankle, right? It's like the whole back of the leg. And when she gets done with my legs, again, her hands go away. And this one, I still don't understand. And I'm like, I have to ask my massage therapist friends. She punched me in the bottom of the ankle, like 3 or 4 times each foot. So like my foot's hanging off the bed like this, and this is my ankle, and she's just punching it. And I'm like, what is being accomplished here? What is this?
Aren't you getting what you paid for, what you asked for, though? I mean, you asked for that.
I mean, yes, but also I don't understand what that accomplishes.
How's your ankle feel today?
The Swedish, it feels like an ankle.
I mean,
I was expecting some like, she punched me in the ankle and immediately I'd be like, oh, I need a cigarette. That was incredible. I just got punched in the ankle. I mean, I guess if I ever get in a fight and somebody takes a swing, I'll super kick and I can block it now.
Was she a large woman?
No, she was not.
Okay, so I mean, you know.
In fact, at one point, because Courtney had a dude who was like a big dude. And this girl walks in and she's like 5'3", maybe a $110 soaking weight. And I'm like, you will have to jump on me. So like halfway through, they left the room so that Courtney and I could like get undressed for the table. And I told her, I'm like, we should switch. And she's like, you want a dude rubbing you down? I'm like, this girl weighs as much as one of my legs. What is she going to do? You got to join the live stream. It gets weird. It gets weird.
That was a great story. You need to go back and watch and listen to it. And you painted a visual that I can't get out of my head now.
I just want to say, for the 2 different people, hilariously, that texted me and said, I never thought about getting a massage, and now I'm definitely not going to. No, still do it.
No, don't.
They're
that's the exact reason why I will never. That, and I'm ticklish, and I'll kick someone in the face. I have no control when I'm being tickled. I will kick someone in the face, and that's just my daughter has the same problem. First time she had her toes done, she nearly kicked someone in the face because she can't handle being tickled. It's a family thing, I guess.
I told the story during the break. The fiance yesterday, we wanted to do a date night, and she's like, can we go get a couples massage? And I'm like, yep, no problem. That's what we're going to do. And so we did, and it got weird, dude. Not weird in like the Bob Kraft way. Calm down, you pervs. All right? Wasn't like that.
The whole time you were telling the story, I never thought of Bob Kraft. So,
yeah, well, you're above most of our listeners, because as soon as I said massage, half the people listening to the show went, Bob Kraft, ha, 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 Bob Kraft, ha, ha. So, anyway, all right. Here's a question.
You feel better today, though, right? So it was worth it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so it actually worked.
So much.
So you're saying if you have the opportunity to go get a massage, you should.
Yes, 100%. They're great. All right, they're great.
I'm gonna stop. But
even when they're weird, they're great.
Do you think we can get that lady to come in here and do that to you on the stream?
For the record, what she did, for those of you not watching, I wasn't gonna go. I'm not gonna get into this because we got something else I want to get to.
Just the ankle punching thing. I want that on the stream.
Part of the massage was a foot massage and then a leg massage. And when we got done with that part, she punched the bottom of, and I'm talking like Jean-Claude Van Damme. Just a punch, like Hadouken punch to the bottom of the ankle. And I was like, what is this? But of course you can't say that. right? You're in a massage parlor. It's supposed to be relaxing and quiet. There are people in all over the places getting their therapy. You're supposed to be like silent in there. So you can't be like, what was that, Roy Jones Jr.? Like, are you a massage therapist who really hates ankles? Why did you punch me in the... All right, anyway. You got to get away from that. Steven said Ray is about to go postal. All right, so I got to thinking about this a little bit yesterday. And I was like, you know what? This is a fair question. Now that we have reached what I like to call peak off season, right? We're in peak off season. We're too far away from football to be diving into football. But we're past basketball and hockey, which means from now till August, it's baseball. So we've been talking about the Denver Nuggets. We've been talking about the Las Vegas Golden Knights. We've been talking about the Miami Heat. But the Nuggets and the Knights, as I said yesterday on the show, kind of have something in common, right? They have something in common, and that is they're kind of boring. They're kind of boring. They're champions, but they're kind of boring. And specifically, we zoned in on Nikola Jokic. Now, I've said multiple times, I absolutely believe that Nikola Jokic is going to be and should be considered the best postseason big man of all time. He did stuff this offseason that no big man in history has ever done before. And frankly, I'm not going to say we'll never do again, but it's unlikely. It's improbable. Nikola Jokic should be considered the best postseason big man of all time. But as Lonzo and I have both pointed out multiple times, yes, he's a boring player. There's no sizzle. It's all steak, right? He's just a meaty player. Dominate the paint, easy putbacks, ham-fisted layups. He's not going up. He doesn't need to or want to rattle the rim. He just wants to put the brown thing through the round thing and then get back and play some defense. And I love that about Nikola Jokic. So, Lonzo, I began to then think, if I was to compile a list of the most boring, great athletes of all time, who goes on that list? The most boring but outstanding athletes of all time. There was one guy that comes from a similar position who I adored as a player, but I also have to admit he was boring as hell, and that is Tim Duncan. Love Tim Duncan for the same reasons I love Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, and not in Tim Duncan's defense, but that entire team was boring. So, I mean, it's one thing to be boring, but to be on a team where everyone is boring, it's
boring, but dominant.
Yeah.
Couldn't beat him. Tim Duncan was boring. In the same way, Nikola Jokic is boring. Incredible, but boring. And then I thought about it one step further, and I would actually add to that list, Lonzo. I would add the Admiral. I'd add David Robinson to that list. David Robinson was a boring center that you couldn't beat.
Yeah, the most non-boring thing about him was his journey to get there.
Yeah. And then he brought that very, military discipline style of ball to the game, right? And I think that, and I thought about this when we were talking about Jokic, specifically in basketball, though it's probably true in other sports as well. When we say boring, Lonzo, I think what we mean is fundamentally solid as hell, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think of someone in football who's boring.
I got one for you.
Can you be boring?
Yep.
I mean, you could go like Joe Flacco or someone like that. But I mean,
I'm talking great players.
A bona fide superstar that people know who it is if you say the name.
I got one for you.
Okay.
Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman was boring as a quarterback. There was no flash to Troy Aikman. And on top of that, Troy Aikman, in my opinion, great quarterback. I'm not disagreeing. Troy Aikman got carried by the Dallas skill position players around him. Troy got carried by Emmett and Irvin and all these other cats. Troy Aikman was a good quarterback elevated to greatness by the Dallas Cowboys around him. Troy Aikman was boring.
But was he boring because everybody around him had such flair? Does that make you boring because you don't stand out like they do?
Maybe. I don't think so. I think Troy Aikman was just boring. Now, I think, again, the more boring you are, if you are still great, the better your team is. So I would say, yeah, to some degree. But like Nikola Jokic is not boring because of all the great players around him. He's boring because his game is boring, right? There was nothing special about Troy Aikman's game. He was wildly accurate, but he had incredible skill position players around him. Troy Aikman was a boring player. I got a couple of baseball ones. Oh, another boring guy in football. Bill Belichick, right? Now, not a player, he's a coach. But his boring personalities in football go, Bill Belichick's got to be like 1 through 5, right?
Yeah, it's a good game for the Patriots today. We really hope to go home and kind of look at the tape, get better at some fundamentals. We'll come out next week stronger. Thanks for coming.
See, the problem with Belichick is he's been exposed in other areas as far as he's not as boring as it's an act. Have you seen some of the other stuff? I mean, when he's on shows he's actually pretty funny.
Everything connected to football, he's intentionally boring.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't think like Jokic is just boring.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Belichick is evil and deceptive. I mean, come on.
I think being boring is part of the deception.
All right.
He wants you to think he's boring. He lulls you to sleep.
Steven on the stream says Trevor Lawrence, even though he's good, he's boring. Yeah, but you can't be boring with that kind of hair because his hair's
Sure
not.
you can.
No, his hair's not boring.
Sure you can.
When you think of him, you think of his hair, and his hair's not boring.
You know what?
I think your look can be non-boring, even though you as a person may seem boring.
Is Trevor Lawrence boring?
You take the hair away,
No.
absolutely.
Like, okay, we'll make the hair jokes. I'm serious.
By the way, I'm serious about the hair too.
Right.
The hair makes it, oh, look, he's a star. He's all this kind of stuff. You put him in a crew cut, he's the most boring player in the NFL.
Just as a football player, is Trevor Lawrence boring? Initially, I just wanted to be like, no, he's not. And now I'm like, I'm looking at his game in my head and I'm like, maybe a little, right? Like, Trevor Lawrence interviews are never anything that I look forward to, right? I'm not saying I don't find them, but like, if the Jags win, Trevor's like the 9th dude I want on a microphone to hear from him about it.
I just replace his voice in my head with what it should sound like, because you're right. He's boring. So in my head, I hear Surfer Dude talking when he's talking, even though he doesn't talk like Surfer Dude. I hear that. And I didn't think about it before. I replace his voice, not because of just the hair, but because he's boring.
Trevor, 325 yards today. Next week, I'll do 420, bro.
See, that would not be boring.
Nice. Is Trevor Lawrence boring? 71-307. You know what? Specifically Clemson fans. Would you say Trevor was a boring quarterback? I want to say no. I want to say I wouldn't put him on the boring QB list. But now that I'm watching his games in my head, I'm like, maybe kind of a little. Texter said Peyton Manning was boring. All right. So I've been told 3 times now Peyton Manning was boring. I didn't see Peyton Manning as boring. Now, I will also admit that because I'm a Saints fan, Archie was our guy. I have an affinity for all the Mannings. But Peyton wasn't boring to me. I guess Peyton wasn't boring the same way that Jokic isn't boring, right? In that, to me, I am very entertained by guys who think the game, by guys who know what they're going to do before they do it, who break you down mentally before they attack you. That's wildly entertaining to me. So Peyton was therefore entertaining to me. But I've gotten a number of responses so far from people going, Peyton Manning was boring. Was he boring?
Yeah, I think during his playing days, for sure, he was boring.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, since then, since he did Saturday Night Live and he's done everything else,
His
and the commercials and
post-career has
things
been
like
great.
yeah, it has. But when he was playing, he was just kind of like, yeah.
Really?
Did you look forward to a Peyton Manning press conference? Did you
That's fair.
look forward to questions being asked of him?
Only when he talked about his idiot kicker who went and got liquored up. What great quotes.
Yeah, but that was later on in his career. So I think early on he was very boring.
Steven said then Eli was boring as well. Yes, of the two Mannings, Eli was boring, right? If I ask who was more boring, Peyton or Eli, it's Eli.
Yeah, because Eli, his mouth's just open all the time. Just
rude. Texas said, based on the criteria of being fundamentally solid, yeah, Trevor is very boring. Listen, I think he could be fundamentally solid and then kick on the afterburners to do some special stuff. I would say Peyton Manning did that. I would think Peyton Manning was fundamentally solid in every aspect of the game, and then every now and then would make a play that you were like, damn, Pepe.
Yeah, but we're talking about being a bona fide star. Was Trevor Lawrence a star in college football? Absolutely. Yes. Is he in the NFL yet? I don't know.
Working on it.
So we're talking about people at the top of their game being boring, and he's still on the rise, and we don't know what the end product's going to be.
That's fair. That's fair. Let's see. Hudson said Chipper Jones was boring. No, dude, come on. Come on. Chipper was not boring. I'll give you a Brave that's boring to prove I'm not unbiased. You know who was a wildly boring player that I adore? Tom Glavine. Tom Glavine was a boring pitcher. Tom Glavine had incredible control. Tom Glavine was dominant off the bump. Tom Glavine was a Hall of Fame pitcher, and his games were boring as hell. He worked every count. He worked every pitch. He was more than happy to get you out of your game by taking time. You had guys like Smoltz and Maddox who were throwing filth at you, and Glavine was a guy who got you with off-speed stuff. Like, he wasn't even doing anything that you went, oh, my God, look at that breaking ball. Look, 99 on the gun on average. Like, it was just fundamentally solid pitching paired with mind games that dragged on, and he won a hell of a lot because of it. I'm a big Braves guy, but, dude, Tom Glavine was boring as hell.
All right, we're talking about boring players, but what's the opposite of boring and what makes them that?
Electrifying is the opposite of boring. Compelling is the opposite of boring.
But is it because they're louder? Is it their celebrations? Is it what they do off the field?
I think it's everything. I think it's everything combined with the primary thing. Here, I'll give you the perfect example. A guy that a lot of people like to consider like a star in the NBA. You know who bores the hell out of me? James Harden. James Harden's a boring player to me. James Harden can be an incredible player, but James Harden is boring because James Harden dribbles 22 seconds off the shot clock and then jumps into the nearest defender. That's his whole game. 22 seconds of dribbling around the ball and then just fire up a wild J and try to draw contact. That's boring basketball.
So you take the beard off of Harden, is he star?
Yeah, he's a great player.
I mean, does he stand out the way he does? This. I guess this goes back to the Trevor conversation with the hair. But if you take, what is Harden known for?
What I just said.
No, he's known for the beard. There are people who do not watch basketball, but if they see that beard, they know who it is.
I don't know, man. Like James
Harden,
you take
that beard off of him, he's an above average player when he wants to be.
I think James Harden is still I would agree. He's a good player. He's an above average player. I'd even say he's a great player when he's not dribbling for 22 out of 24, launching himself into a defender to try to get
when
fouled.
He's motivated and not trying to find a way to leave the team.
I put him on the list. I put Pete Sampras on the list.
See, there's a very good example of boring.
Pete Sampras was great and boring as hell.
But he was also following guys like Andre Agassi who were not boring. Yeah. And then suddenly he gets out there, does it, and you're like, yawn. Sorry, I went Valley Girl there for a second.
I put Brooks Koepka on this list. I love Brooks. Brooks is a great dude. I've met him a couple of times. Super solid guy is Brooks Koepka. Boring as hell. He's just a boring winner, right? Even when he pipes a drive, there's no emotion. He's just like, all right, on to the next shot. Grab me my 6-iron.
It's the equivalent of a stats radio show where they're just out there
Yes!
just putting out stats. Okay, yeah, stats are important to talk about, but if you have no flair, no nothing around it, no personality, it's just like, okay, all right, I heard what the score is. Let me move on to something else.
Let's see. Texter says isn't Tom Brady on the field kind of textbook boring, just fundamentally a great player of the position. This is no comment on this is no comment. I don't know where the rest of that text is going, but he said, isn't Tom Brady boring? I do not see Tom Brady as a boring player. Tom Brady made throws that.
Hey man, why
to
are we
me were
talking about some
unbelievable.
guys retired? I mean, why is he even being brought up? I mean, he's a has-been. He's no longer in the league. We might hear his voice, we might not. I mean, coming up, why are we even talking about that guy?
Did you see Greg Olson get nominated for an Emmy for his work?
Did he win it?
Yeah, I don't know if he won it or
I
not,
thought
but he got
he won it,
nominated.
yeah.
Did he win it? He might have. He should have. He was great. All right, we got to take a break because when we come back, Savannah Leigh is a golf writer for SBNation. And ladies and gentlemen, it's U.S. Open Day out at the LA Country Club. A course I don't really know anything about. So we'll talk to Savannah Leigh next. She'll give us a couple of golfers that she likes, a couple that she doesn't. We'll hit those with Savannah Leigh when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Gables.
All right, guys, got a live read. Y'all stay right there. We'll be back with Savannah Leigh after this. Don't go anywhere.
now know the 2024 SEC schedule. So who got the gift of all gifts and who got hosed? We've got the upstate's favorite athlete bracket.
Did he say who got hosed?
Yeah. Casey said, if by breakfast you mean chugging a Ghost energy drink, then yes.
If you consider it breakfast, then it's breakfast, I suppose.
Happy U.S. Open week, ladies and gentlemen. Fortunately, the U.S. Open has happened because there's just been nothing happening in the world of golf the last week and a half. Just nothing to talk about when it comes to golf. So let's talk about all that nothing with longtime friend of the show and friend of mine both on and off the air. She is a staff writer for SBNation's Playing Through. You can find her on Twitter at SportsGirlSL. It is my homie Savannah Leigh joining the show. What up, girl?
What up? I'm so excited. I get 52 hours of golf this week, and I don't think I've ever been so pumped for that or for a Los Angeles situation. I'm an Atlanta girl through and through, but like LA this week, it's happening. It's happening.
I'm super excited about this turn. Now, I get excited for the U.S. Open every year. It's a wonderful tournament. It's given us some of the greatest moments in golf, no doubt about it. But we're going to L.A., the L.A. Country Club, of course, that frankly, Savannah, I'm not super familiar with. I saw the other day that there is a 290-yard par 3. Whatever masochist came up with that deserves jail time. But I am really excited to watch PGA guys try to drive that green successfully because that's such a weird distance. Can you talk to me a little bit about this club, about this course, and what we should be looking at to what we should be to expect to see out of this tournament?
Oh, yeah. So it's a 7,423-yard par 70 layout, but there are 5 par 3s and 3 par 5s, which is pretty unheard of. Usually there's 2 par 5s or 1 par 5 or whatever, but those par 3s are going to be where the PGA Tour guys get tested. You're going to have to be strategic at times, and it's just going to be fun to watch because the par 3s are usually ones that kind of get overlooked depending on where you are. Augusta National says, hold my beer, but I digress. But it's crazy because those par 3s can range from like 74 yards all the way to that 300 or 290 yard range. And that's crazy because that's literally almost any bag in the club that you could possibly use on a par 3. And that's just, I love it because it's like every par 3 is a par 10 for me. And I'm excited to see them struggle. But they're going to be super wide fairways at LA Country Club, all the way to up to 60 yards. I think they're playing about 43 or 45 today, but they're undulating. They're going to be a lot of different kind of slopes and stuff. And some even compare it to Augusta National in terms of how the greens are and the undulation of them and just how guys are going to have to shape different shots and pay attention to where they are on the fairway and all of that kind of things, because it can slip up on you. And then you also have Bermuda rough, which is not a normal kind of rough for the U.S. Open. It's some other grass. I'm not going to pretend to know a ton about that, but the other staff writer, Jack at SBNation, Playing Through, he was like, this is not normal rough. Bermuda is going to be interesting to watch them try to get in and out of. So definitely wanted to mention that. But I'm excited because we've never seen it before. There's some guys in the field that have course knowledge, so I think that'll help them. But the undulation and just the sheer test of Southern California, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch because it's new. It's something that we haven't seen before. And I think this is probably the most anticipated U.S. Open since Aaron Hill.
We are talking to Savannah Leigh. She covers golf for SB Nation and their Playing Through section of the website. You can also follow her on Twitter at SportsGirlSL. So give me a list of some favorites because there's a lot of storylines here. Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, and Brooks Koepka are all three just raking in victories at this point. You got Rory McIlroy, who has not won a major in 9 years. You got Phil Mickelson, who is dying to get a U.S. Open win to complete the career Grand Slam. Give me 3-4 guys that you think are smart money picks this weekend?
So Max Homa is one. He holds the course record that he set as an amateur, I believe it was, and it's a 61. So he knows the course pretty well. He's definitely somebody I'd watch out for. If he wins his first major anywhere, it's got to be in LA because that's his city. Then I like Victor Hovland because he's just red hot right now. The win at Memorial showed a more mature side to him that we haven't necessarily seen. That we didn't get to see him put together those rounds at the Masters and at the PGA. But now that he's kind of seen what it takes to do that, LA could really set up well for him. A wild card kind of interesting note is Sahith Theegala, who hasn't necessarily played well, but like I mentioned before, course knowledge is going to be key here. And he's played this course over 30 times. And so I think he could be in contention. I picked Brooksy for the week because I feel like if you pick against Brooksy right now, it's kind of a bad omen. The way he's able to concentrate on major championships right now, and for him to get that win at the PGA, that's just kind of like maybe the opening the floodgates is what I would say. But those are 4 guys. I don't think Lefty's going to make the cut. I think he goes home early on Friday, and that's kind of like one of my big predictions. And I hope Rory plays well, but it seems like he does. He either plays like crap the first round or he'll play well until Sunday and then it kind of just all falls apart. He is going with 4. He has 4 wedges in the bag this week. So I'm wondering if he's been really working on that wedge game to kind of sharpen it up. I know he's super excited to play at LA and he's been talking about it for over a month at this point. And so I'm excited to see how he plays, but it's either going to be a big name or we're going to see somebody win their first major championship this week. I don't think there's going to be, there's really no in between. But
talk to me about your pick of Phil missing the cut. I'm kind of curious in that. Is that because the course doesn't set up well for him? Because it's interesting because you talked about this since this is a par 70 course. There's some very long and very short par 3s. There's some interesting spots as far as risk reward scenarios. But for a guy who has kind of made his money with his short game, I kind of assumed this course was going to set up somewhat well for Phil Mickelson. What's talked you into thinking he's going to miss the cut?
Well, the U.S. Open is kind of his kryptonite. He cannot get over that hump. And with all the other stuff going on with LIV and the PGA Tour and everything, I think he's been kind of what Rory is, but for LIV. And so all of that pressure is sitting on him. You notice he's kind of stopped talking since everything's gone down, which probably says he's focusing on the U.S. Open. But I think all of that's going to weigh on him. I think he's going to try way too hard to push and be super aggressive because he knows he's got to be able to keep up with a lot of these young guys. I mean, he did it at Kiowa at 51, so I'd happily eat crow if he makes it and does something great this weekend. But I just think that he's going to put too much pressure on himself. His game's there, but, I think it was, T58 at the PGA Championship. And, he plays well in Augusta most of the time anyway. But this one's a gauntlet. And if he doesn't keep it in the fairway, he'll struggle. He's got the putting, but his putting's been a little bit up and down. So it's just not up to where Brooks and a couple of the other guys that are putting well are. So that's kind of like where my head is thinking. I think it's more about the off-course stuff that's going to affect him than it is necessarily his game.
We are talking with Savannah Leigh. She covers golf for SBNation. Find her on Twitter at SportsGirlSL as we get set for the U.S. Open out at the LA Country Club. All right, let's kind of get to the other big story of the last couple of weeks, and that, of course, is this LIV Tour PGA Tour merger. And before we get full blown into that, let's talk about its impact on these guys, right? Because I think we talk about a Rory McIlroy, and to say that this is not going to occupy some headspace, I think, would be wrong. I can't imagine Rory's not infuriated with what's happening here. On the other hand, you've got guys like Bryson DeChambeau, guys like Phil Mickelson that I'm sure are, I don't want to say elated, but are very happy because they took a gamble and holy crap, did it pay off for them? How do you think the news of the last week and a half might change the way some guys, I mean, I'm sure there are some PGA Tour guys that now they definitely want to beat the LIV Tour guys. I think there are probably some LIV Tour guys that are very happy about what is going to be eventually, I'm sure, a return to the tour Do you think it has any mental impact on some of these guys going out this week?
Probably so, just because it's just such a huge storyline. I don't necessarily agree how Jay Monahan did it, like not telling players, especially the ones that are on the player board, about the deal or the merger or whatever you want to call it. Some people are like, it's not a merger, and then other people are like, it's are, and it is. And so it's very confusing in that sense of why he didn't tell them. And I think that's going to be where those guys kind of not hold it against him, but are like, okay, well, we just better pay attention closer to things now, because it's clear that, this is not a player-led tour like we're assuming that it should be. And all this is speculation and me being an opinion for me, because I don't ever want anyway. Yes, I do think it can affect them. I find it interesting that the USGA paired Brooks and Rory together with Hideki Matsuyama. I don't think there's going to be a ton of animosity between players. I think it's a lot of surface level things and what gets pushed into the media, because that's what it's gone on the entire time, bickering back and forth. I do think Phil will probably chirp a little bit, but at the same time, that's just Phil. He's someone that definitely talks a lot. But like I said before, after everything kind of came out, he shut down. I don't know that Liv will survive the end of this year with this deal. I think that's still up in the air. I think there's so much still up in the air that it's hard to be like, well, this is what's going to happen. And the whole compensation thing, and I think they were trying to get ahead of it before the U.S. Open, so it didn't shadow the U.S. Open week, and which is why it leaked last Tuesday. But I do think that there's still a lot of unknowns and a lot of things that they have to iron out. I mean, the DOJ just got involved and claiming a lot of antitrust situations with the whole deal. So this may not even go through. It's just all up in the air. But at the end of the day, these players hang out with each other off the course. Brooks and Rory and so many of them live in Jupiter. So that it's not like they just hate each other and they avoid each other. One just made a choice to go to live, and the other chose to stick with the PGA Tour. Now, if this happened 6 months ago, I do think Rory would have a lot more animosity. But at this point, the way that he continues to talk about it, he's just kind of accepted it and is probably glad he doesn't have to be that sacrificial lamb anymore.
It's interesting to me, because not just because Roy's stuck with the PGA, but when we learn the details of what he turned down to do so, right? Rory between $300 and $400 million. Tiger Woods turned down $750 million to remain loyal, allegedly, but at the same time, he's not actually denied that. So I'm electing believe it because I love drama, Savannah. So
well,
when
Rory
go ahead.
said last in one of his memorial interviews that he was not approached or offered any kind of money, which take with a grain of salt, because he could just be saying that, especially during the height of the whole breaking news of everything. But that is what he said in a press conference, which is why I say allegedly, because he could be lying. He could be saying that to be like, nope, I didn't get approached, so blah, blah, blah. But I'm with you. I'm like, until I see some papers for him saying, no, I'm good or whatever, I'm kind of speculating on that as well.
It's let's assume, for the sake of making it interesting, that Liv offered them something. We don't necessarily have to say it's 400 mil or 3/4 of a bill. Let's just say that they got offered something similar to what guys like Bryson DeChambeau got offered, and they turned it down. They decide to stay. We got told last week that the PGA Tour is trying to work up some sort of plan where the guys who stayed would get equity back in the tour, right? So as the tour profits and prospers from growth with Liv and the DP World, et cetera, they would get a stake in that as if they own shares, basically, in what is now is no longer a not-for-profit. To me, my whole thing was, dude, let's say it was $100 million, right? Let's say Rory didn't get offered let's say $100 million. I don't see a world in which the PGA Tour offers equity that over 5, 6, 7 years equates to $100 million worth. So I still kind of wonder what the next set of hurdles is for the PGA Tour to get these guys to where they accept the future, other than, Savannah, to strong arm them and go, yeah, you might be mad, but where else you gonna play, bro?
No, 100%. That's probably going to be one of the biggest pieces or one of the largest portions of this deal that they'll have to to iron out and make sure that they get correctly. If they don't get it correctly, you could see, and again, I'm speculating here. I'm not saying that this is actually going to happen, but you could see the likes of Tiger and Rory maybe break off and do their own tour, or, you know, unionize, or what, you know, there's so many different options and things that could go down if they don't get this deal right. I think if they get Greg Norman out of the picture and they figure out a way to put some equity into it and allow them to be a part of it, that could help, because long-term investments, maybe, depending on how well the deal goes and how well profit and every, you know, all of that. There's so many different cards, but it's going to take a lot. I think it's going to take, that's the interesting part of it is because so many of the guys are like, well, whatever now, like, you know, as long as we get to play the best players in the world. And Rory's like, well, I've just kind of accepted it. And I'm like, have you though? I think there's probably a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on. But it's going to be interesting to watch. It's probably going to be it will be the biggest story this summer as it continues to unfold, as they continue to make deals and plans. Jay Monahan had an undisclosed medical situation. He's not even running the PGA Tour day to day right now. So it's just it's a great time to start watching and paying attention to golf.
I'm just gonna say, in the thing that is gonna get me in trouble on the radio, I'm getting big Urban Meyer vibes off Jay Monahan right now. Oh, what's that? I'm the most hated person in sports right now. Oh, my heart. Oh, I need a break. And I would like to spend some more time with my family, please.
So this has nothing to do with someone dancing close to him or anything. You're just talking. Okay. All right. I'm just checking.
Not that kind of, not that Urban Meyer controversy, the other Urban Meyer controversy.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, the first one. Savannah Leigh covers golf for SB Nation and the Playing Through section of the website. You can find her on Twitter, at SportsGirlSL. She is a must follow during U.S. Open week. Going to be a great tournament, Savannah. Look forward to getting you back on next week to break it down. Thank you, ma'am.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob.
Anytime. Savannah's the best. The best. At SportsGirlSL on Twitter for a great golf follow during the U.S. Open. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll clam up hour number 2. We'll get I don't know why I said that. I don't know what that means.
We're going to climb it up.
I don't understand.
Climbing it up right here, ladies and gentlemen.
That came out of my mouth.
During the break on the stream, he's going to explain to us how we climb up something.
There's no explanation. I have nothing. My brain just threw a word in there. I got no explanation other than I'm an idiot. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 2, and then we will begin hour number 3. And hopefully, Lonzo, at no point do we climb up. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. That right there is why I'll never have a nationally syndicated.
I was just going to say, clam
That's
up.
why I'll never go big.
Climb up is the opposite of what we're supposed to do.
That's why I'll never go big right there. All right, guys. We'll be back in.
Don't go sturdy, though.
Don't go anywhere.
doing it just to do that. That's all.
We got a tweet during the break that said literally everyone eats breakfast except those who starve to death. Anytime you eat after fasting is breakfast. My breakfast just happens to be midday most days, usually an apple or crackers and hummus. And I responded with semantic arguments are absolutely my favorite arguments.
And hummus? Really? That's okay. All right. Did you put that hummus on a bagel though?
Can we stop the hatred of people who are night people as opposed to morning people? Can we stop putting on blast people who like to end their day later and start their day later? Like, I don't understand why this world believes that the only way to be a good person, you got to get up at 5 a.m, get everything done by noon, and be in bed at 7 p.m. to get a phone. Why? If I am sleeping the same number of hours as you and I'm doing the same number of hours of work in the day, why does it matter if I get up at 11 a.m. as opposed to 5 a.m.?
Okay, I'm confused by this because I don't know. I've never heard anyone coming at someone for sleeping later and going to bed later.
I get it all the time. I get it all because I am a late night person, as anyone on my Xbox friends list is aware of. I do most, so I do the show. I'm in here. I'm in this building at 7 a.m. Okay. And I usually work till about 1. I'm out of here at 1, about an hour after the show. I'm out of here. And then there are some days it's a little earlier, some it's a little later, depending on what's happening. Like yesterday, I took off at 12:30, but I took off at 12:30 to go home and work because the Braves were playing a doubleheader. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go watch back-to-back Braves games, right?
It's a hard life, man. Be glad that you don't have to live it.
Yeah. I'm sacrificing for you, the people. So,
was that like a Klingon salute, or is that more like Caesar?
We the people.
Oh,
yeah,
but you had your fist. That's you went fist. That's different.
So, I constantly get told, especially now in Eastern time. Last night, I wanted to watch the Dodgers game. That went first pitch at 10 p.m. Right? The lady friend and I got home from dinner. We hung out for a little while. She went to bed at like 9 o'clock, as she does. I stayed up. I watched a little baseball.
Why did you sound critical about her going to bed at 9 o'clock?
I'm not critical.
The tone kind of belays.
Not in the least. If
right.
that is when you want to go to bed, it's when you go to bed. But I told her, I'm going to stay up and watch baseball. She's like, you're not going to bed. Like, she was stunned that I wasn't going to bed. I'm like, no, I watched the end of the Yankees-Mets game, 10 innings, phenomenal game. And then I stayed up to watch the 10 o'clock first pitch of the Dodgers.
Well, you do have a nationally syndicated baseball show on Saturdays. You probably should.
True, but I also would even if I didn't, because I love baseball.
Giving you an out here.
I know. I appreciate it. I'm saying I don't want the out. Right?
I'm being the wingman over here.
You are, and a great one, as always, and I appreciate it. I'm saying I don't want the out. I get so sick of people that are like, if you don't get up at the butt crack of dawn, and if you aren't in bed by 8 p.m., you're a failure. I'm not. I am working the same amount, if not more hours than most everyone I know, right? I just do better work, and I am more awake when the sun goes down than you are. Why is it that this world has this paradigm that if you're not in bed at 8 and up at 4, that you can't be successful? Yes, I can. Not only can I'm doing it right now. Right now. Stop with the, and this does stem because we got a tweet during the break from Corey that said, literally everyone eats breakfast except those who starve to death. Anytime you eat after fasting is breakfast. My breakfast just happens to be midday most days, and usually an apple or crackers and hummus. And I appreciate that, because if anybody loves a good semantic argument based on the definition and usage of words, it's me. Breakfast comes from break fast.
Which I would guess that there are a lot of people that don't know that, don't realize it, and really don't care.
Sure.
Breakfast is slated as the first meal of the day. If your first meal of the day is at 2 p.m., cool.
Yes.
But if you work grumpy all day till 2 o'clock and you don't, why am I never in a good mood? Maybe it's because you need to eat. Maybe your metabolism is such that you probably need like a little food. Maybe possible.
Also, this is going to get me in trouble in my home life, but I need y'all to stop using "I'm hangry" as an excuse to be a jerk to other people. I need y'all to stop using "I'm hangry" as a reason to be a jerk. Oh, forgive me. No. You were a jerk. You were a jerk who was hungry, but you were a jerk. Hangry is not an excuse to be a jerk.
There are chemical imbalances. It's scientific. I mean, there's a reason why you get that way. You just don't like the word.
No. I mean, yes, but dude, I have chemical imbalances that cause me to have bad days all the time. You know what I don't do? Be a jerk. Don't be a jerk. You're hungry. Don't be a jerk.
You go to the restroom and you feel better. That's probably what I mean. Yeah.
Hour number 3 is around the corner on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
There are some people in this building who have chemical imbalances, and you don't want to follow them. I will tell you, if I'm ever angry because I'm hungry, I'm just going to tell you I'm mad because I'm hungry. Get out of my way. I'm mad because I'm hungry. Why am I mad? Because someone called in and I had to work and I didn't bring enough food. And that, yeah, it's usually how that works. Have you ever tried to eat breakfast? It's one of those times where I could sneak in the fake words. Well, what do you want me to ask him so he can pretend like he's not? Now he's pretending like he's not listening.
No, I'm not. We got a text back from that guy who said, time to change definitions or delineate descriptions of what we mean. It's like, no, but the usage of words change over time.
So when you looked at delineate, did you automatically know it was spelled correctly? Or do you think that spell check helps?
No, I love the word delineate.
No, it's a good word. I could not spell it, I don't think. Maybe I could, but you know, I don't think I've ever used it in a sentence until now. I think delineate was used in an excess song. I think possibly.
The owner of CNT Foundations, Travis Smith, comes to repairs of my home. I want to know who's doing the work. Who is CNT Foundations? Well, let me tell you who we are. We are not salespeople. We're a general contractor specializing in foundation repair. As the founder, I have a calling to help people regain their peace of mind by knowing their home is safe. Call 864-581-3341. CNT Foundations. Your foundation experts.
At the United States Postal Service, we're reinventing our network to help keep your business moving. With new shipping options to deliver better value, greater flexibility to conveniently reach your customers, more confident shipping with new informed delivery features, and new electric vehicles for a cleaner, brighter future. Fast, reliable, perfectly orchestrated. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/movingforward.
What's up? It's a Target trend.
Is Rob hangry right now? No, I'm not.
Yeah, he is.
No, I'm not. I ate a granola bar. I'm perfectly satisfied.
Yeah, absolutely is angry right now.
I'm just tired of being told that if you want to be more successful, you have to go to bed early. No, I don't. In fact, it's quite the opposite for me. If I go to bed early, I will be less successful.
It sounds to me
I already don't know what I'm
like
talking
you're
about,
trying
and I
to
would know
be rebellious because you feel like people are coming against what you consider your lifestyle, and So
To
you're
some degree.
railing against
It's
it.
not rebellious.
It is. You know what? Know your place, Rob. Do things conform to how society does things. Know your place. So if people are coming at you that way, which they kind of are, is because traditions are you do things this way. So you're rebelling against tradition. So you're rebellious. You got rebellious hair. You got a rebellious beard. I mean, it's obvious that you're a rebel.
This is not rebellious
It's
hair.
it's rebellious hair. You haven't conformed to the little boy haircut that all old men believe that you have to have.
Look at this. It's excellent.
Oh, I see it. It's got some weight to it too.
Got some weight to it. I'm getting a trim Wednesday before we go to the wedding. And I'm not telling the lady friend that I'm doing it, because if I say I'm getting a haircut, when she hears haircut, she thinks like, oh, I'm getting it cut short again.
No chance she's watching on the stream.
None. She's at work.
Okay.
She doesn't get to participate in the show anymore. She has a real job.
It's second breakfast and 11sies, Stephen, obviously.
But have you heard of second breakfast?
QC in the first break.
All right. I hope this isn't trending, but I have seen the video of this kid with the Rubik's Cube like 40 times today. Do you know what that's about?
Yeah, he just broke the record.
All right.
He did it in like so many seconds or something like that. It's an amazing feat what he did. Have you ever been able to solve a Rubik's Cube?
Yes. Do you know why? Because there's a formula to
Yeah,
it.
I have not. Because I think I just when first had them, and plus I had a cheap one that you get from Kmart, which probably didn't turn the right way. I mean, but I lost interest in it early on. And I'm surprised it's still a thing. But you know, however you get your name in the record books.
I don't know that I could do it today, but there's a formula to solving a Rubik's Cube. You look at like the colors in the four corners of two sides, and then it tells you if
I know how to
many
do the
times,
four
whatever,
corners,
right.
so I know how to do all that.
So then
I can get three sides, but I never got all of them.
So then here's my thought. I am not celebrating this world record, and here's why. I'm not celebrating this world record because they let the kid look at the Rubik's Cube for like 12 seconds before he solved it, right? It's under a towel, and then they remove the towel, and then he gets to pick it up and spin it around and look at all the sides of it and evaluate it, then put it down, then the clock starts. Dude, 90% of solving the cube is looking at where the colors are. Once you do that, you know how many clicks up, down, left, and right you need to go looking at a particular side to get it in order. This is not an accomplishment.
Well,
you ran 90 of the 100 meters and then set a world record for the last 10.
All right.
No.
So the person who held the record before this kid, if they were under the same circumstances, then he's just doing the same thing. If the other person was allowed to do what you just said they did, as far as being able to look at it, then it's okay because it's the fastest one under those circumstances.
Sure. Then I don't respect any of those world records. If we are going to say the fastest to solve the Rubik's Cube, then it should be covered by a towel, should be scrambled by a random person, set down, covered by a towel, and your time starts when the towel moved. When you get to look at the Rubik's Cube, that's when the timer starts, and not a second before. Because if I get to look at it, I've solved it. I already know what it is. Now, the world record, Lonzo, should not be fastest to solve the Rubik's Cube. It should be fastest to spin the Rubik's Cube. Because you solved it in the 13 seconds that you were staring at it. You didn't solve it in 10 seconds. You solved it in 20. And that is my beat up nerd segment of the day.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
I'm standing by it.
I mean, if the world record, if everyone is under the same circumstances and you did it under the same circumstances as someone else did, then you've got the world record. And there are weird world records in a ton of different things.
Yep, Guinness has gotten ridiculous.
Just because we don't recognize them, Guinness does.
Guinness has gotten ridiculous. I don't disagree.
And they are the experts. So, I mean,
all I'm saying is, if we are going to give these nerds world titles for solving a Rubik's Cube, they should not be able to see the Rubik's Cube until it is revealed and the clock is started. Stop showing me this like I'm supposed to be impressed. I'm not. Show me the kid that doesn't get to look at it until the clock starts and then does it in 10 seconds. That kid will blow my mind.
All right. Steven says, though, give Rob a Snickers. He's hangry mad.
You know what it is,
dude.
You know what I've realized?
You're mad over a kid in a Rubik's Cube.
You know what I realized it is? I figured it out. You know what it is? How many monsters have you seen me drink this week?
I haven't really paid attention, so I just,
Zero. Not one. I am trying to kick the monsters and caffeine push. Right? I'm trying for real this time. I have made it from Saturday to Thursday without one of them.
That is a big deal for you, and I guess that makes sense. Getting off the caffeine will cause you to be a little angry when you're used to that.
It's just withdrawals.
That pick me up, yeah.
Just withdrawals.
If you're shaking or cold, you let me know, and I'll go get you a jacket. I'm not going to hug you though.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to this. Eastern time, 10:00 tonight. The United States men's national soccer team takes on El Tri.
Okay, why are you complaining? You just went through all this thing saying that you're a night person. Why are you complaining about something being on at night when you're up anyway?
There's a difference between watching the Mets and the Yankees play versus my team play at 10 o'clock at night. Because if my team plays a 2-hour game at 10 o'clock at night, that means that game is over between midnight and 12:30. And if it's the game I think it's going to be tonight, it means that about 12:15, my heart rate's going to be about 190, and I'm going to still be 2 more hours from bed.
Yeah, but you're a night person, so why does it matter?
There's a difference between night and very, very early morning person.
Okay, when does night become early morning?
Here's
is that
why.
1 a.m. or is it midnight?
Listen, I'm in bed between 1 and 2 most nights. 1 and 2 is
Which
usually
would be about the time when this game is over. I'm just,
right, but it's my team.
Hey, yo,
There's a difference between.
I bet there's a monster in the fridge, man. You want me to go get it for you? I go get it for you. And you know what? I can go down the store and get you some more. It might cost you a little bit more, but I could do that. I could do that for you because you're my friend. I'll do that for you.
Hey, you feeling a little sluggish this morning? I got a little something for you, huh? It's down in the trunk. What do you say you and I take a little walk, huh? All right. U.S. Soccer kicks off tonight. They will be taking on Mexico in the CONCACAF Nations League semifinals. The winner of this will take on the winner of the other semifinal in the late game. Championship match berth is on the line. This one is taking place in Chicago. Scratch that, in Las Vegas. At Allegiant Stadium, set for 10 p.m. and will be broadcast live on Paramount Plus. Fans can also follow it on the team's social media. I'm interested. Scratch that. I'm not. I'm interested as a fan. Yes, I always will be. I'm interested because we've got some decisions to be made, and we've got some interesting names on the current roster. We know Matt Turner's going to be back in goal, but Sean Johnson's on this roster as well. Could we see some changes, some shakeups in front of the sticks? Serginho Dest. This is a wonderful time for Serginho Dest, who is currently playing his ball for AC Milan, to secure his spot across the back line. And Serginho Dest is a much-needed guy. He is a guy that is talented enough to get into the midfield and help on the attack, but still be trusted as a back. Anthony Robinson, the guy they called Jedi. Would love for him to get back into form in this match tonight. Miles Robinson is back there. There's also a couple of classics. Walker Zimmerman's back there, former Furman Paladin. It's going to join. In fact, we should try to get Walker on the show, shouldn't we? I got to get Walker on the show. Up in the midfield, Luca De La Torre's up there. Johnny Cardoso's up there. Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, Gio Reyna, and Alan Senora. Now, here is one of the most interesting things. What does Gio Reyna look like? What does Gio Reyna look like under the next interim manager, right? Because we know BJ Callahan is playing the role of interim manager tonight. What does Gio Reyna look like? There's been so much drama around Gio. First off, I would like to say I hope Gio Reyna's helicopter parents have taken off and gotten the hell out of the way. But how does Gio Reyna factor into tonight? How does he factor into the USMNT throughout this run as we get prepped for a 2026 World Cup hosted by the United States of America? I'm really interested to see how Weston, Eunice, and Gia all play together in the mid. And then up top, Valerian Balogun has joined this team. He is a guy who had the dual residency with England. England, the UK, pushing hard to get this kid on their roster, and he decides to become a U.S. national and play for the Stars and Bars. But who else is up there? Ricardo Pepi is back. Ricardo Pepi has had some incredible moments, and then he's had long stretches where he's disappeared. Does having Balogun up there with him open up the field a little bit? Does it give Ricardo Pepi an opportunity? Remember, the Americans' biggest weakness lately has been finding somebody that can put the ball in the strings. We just have not found the guy that we can plug into that 9 role and have him score goals for us. That's what's been missing. The back line has been up and down. The midfield's been up and down, but they've played better lately. We just got to have somebody who can finish. Somebody that can finish. Can it be Pepi with Balogun up there with him? Can it be Valerian? Can he be the guy? What about Pulisic? Right? A lot of people have fallen off on Christian Pulisic, largely because this season at Chelsea was by and large a failure, both for Christian Pulisic and for that entire side. It was a failed campaign for Chelsea, and I would argue it was a failed campaign for Christian Pulisic. But he is still the guy that a lot of American soccer fans are leaning on to be Captain America. This is the guy that we are leaning on to see. Can he do it? Can he get it done? Can this be the guy that changes everything up for us? And tonight is a great opportunity to prove it. This is a rivalry in every sense of the world. It is a geographic rivalry. We are not only neighbors, we are joint World Cup hosts in 3 years. It's a joint rivalry in terms of World Cup hosting. It is a rivalry because a lot of these players have played with and around each other. Alex Zendejas is a forward for the Americans, but he plays his ball down in Mexico. Alan Senora is an American, but he plays his ball down at FC Juarez, right? You've got a lot of players on this American side that play their ball in Mexico, and you've got a lot of Mexicans on the El Tree's roster that play their ball in MLS, that play their balls in the States. Which means these guys are wildly familiar with each other, which makes rivalries that much better. I know it is a late game, a 10 p.m. kick. I told the fiance, hey, I think I'm going to go with the boys down to the watering hole of the game on Thursday because it kicks off an hour after you go to sleep. I know it's late, but if you are even fringe interested in football, soccer, if you are even fringe interested in soccer, if you just want to watch soccer this evening to tick Ray off, if that's your goal, whatever the reasoning might be, this is a night to watch this game because one of two things is going to happen tonight. Either A, even under an interim manager, with the new names and with an extended international break taking place right now, so a full roster and a full training period to get ready for this international break, either A, the team's going to come out tonight and they're going to show you that they are on an upward trajectory. Even with an interim manager, they're on an upward trajectory. Or B, this team's going to come out tonight and we're going to see the shortcomings. I'll tell you what is going to happen tonight. You are going to see a good game. You are going to see a vicious game. You are going to see a physical game. You're going to see a fast game. And you're going to see a game that it does not matter what the prize is. The Nations League trophy, the Gold Cup, rights to be the prime time on World Cup opening day in 2026, whatever the prize. The biggest prize of these two teams is not losing to the other. The biggest prize is being able to wave hey, goodbye to the other side as they walk off the pitch defeated. If you are even fringe interested in soccer, I don't know a lot about it. I don't know if I'm into it or not. I want you to follow me on Twitter at The Rob Brown Show. And I want you to watch this game tonight. DVR and watch it tomorrow if you have to. It's going to be heated, boy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. When we come back here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate, it's time for Fight Club with the great one, Lonzo. We'll take a spin around the worlds of MMA, of boxing, of WWE, of AEW, and more. Lonzo gives you all the combat sports news and information on the only station that talks, on the only show that talks combat sports in the Upstate. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, got a live read, and then we're back for Fight Club. Stick around.
On occasion, I actually agree with critics. But I also know it's superhero film. I'm not going in to be moved in a way that changes my philosophy in life. Just want to have a good time. That's all. Welcome into the Fight Club, where we fight, because it's club, and in a club that says Fight Club, you fight, and maybe not physical, maybe it's verbal jabs, but you never know. It might turn to physicality, especially if you come at Rob and I together. We don't go, we're not going to fight each other, but we'll fight you. Not really, because you can't get in the building. It's secure. But if you could,
some of y'all I might meet in the parking lot.
You could. Let's say if your name was Ray or something like that. You never know. You never know.
Fight Ray. Ray's already sad enough. Ray is sad because Ray has become a fixture on this show now. Unintentionally.
See, I think that's what Ray wants. That's what I think. If Ray is who I told you I think he is, that's what Ray wants.
Well, I'm giving it to him.
Ray gets his name mentioned several times, even though it's not really his name. Gets it mentioned many times and is like, yeah, see what I did? I have created content. Way to go, Ray. All right. The first thing I want to talk about is, all right, Cody Rhodes, big push, probably should have won at WrestleMania.
Nope.
Hard times, baby.
Hard times, daddy.
So do hard times include wrestling an ex-convict like Dom? So normally I would be like, oh man, this is a step down for Cody. It really is. But I can't make myself feel that way. Can you? Because you would think, okay, he's coming down to go, because Dominic Mysterio is the biggest heel in all of wrestling. Just from the booze that he gets. He gets more booze than anybody combined. You can't speak when he pulls the mic up, and he knows how to work it. I don't know if that came natural, if they talked to him, but he knows how to bring the mic up slowly so the crowd knows he's getting ready to talk so they can boo him. He gets more booze than Goodell. I mean, it's an amazing thing. So you would think that this is a step down for Cody. Wrestling what some would call lower mid-card, maybe, although Dom is getting better, but still.
Tell you one of my biggest problems that I have with wrestling fans is that they look at it as if you're not in the heavyweight title picture, the Universal Championship picture, whatever, the top flight picture on that show, that you're effectively a loser, right? Like all these other mid-card belts. This is why they have the Intercontinental Championship on friend of the show, Gunther. They have it on him to try to fix that mindset of wrestling fans that mid-card belts are basically a waste of time. They're not. They're great belts. Some careers have been made by specifically the Intercontinental Championship, but the U.S. title as well. Is it a step down from Cody? No. What it is taking a guy who was in this picture out of that picture because they realized that this painting that they were putting together needs to be completed. The bloodline story, which, yes, there have been a couple of times here and there where I've been like, all right.
So have you seen the pictures of Roman, like his hair solid white and he's all wrinkly?
Yeah, like I get that. But again, the belt being on Roman, it is partially about Roman. But the belt being on Roman is not entirely about Roman. The belts being on Roman is to let the Usos finish that story. It's to let Sammy finish this. It's to let Solo. Now, it does appear that they've taken Sammy out of that story for the most part too, right? They put the belts on him and KO so that they could then focus elsewhere, because now the story has gotten back to its ultimate core. Jimmy and Jay, Solo, and Roman, and how they all interact. And this story has come back to being great ever since it has come back to being great. and it needs to be finished. And Cody being there was muddying up an otherwise great piece of art that was being put together. He will be back. He's going to get his time. He's going to get his opportunity. Who did they pair him with? The biggest heel on the show right now. And on top of that, and you brought this up to me the other day, and think about it, not only pairing him up with Dom, the biggest show on the heel, biggest heel on the show right now, what else does that open them up to?
Brandy Rhodes coming
Showing up
into
to
it.
be the equalizer for Rhea Ripley. That is exactly
and
why
Brandy
they did this.
tweeted something kind of cryptic, like guys can't hit Rhea, but I can, or something like that. So
that's not cryptic. That's pretty bold.
Well, no, I'm reading into it. I can't remember the exact tweet. I don't think it was that blatant, but it might have been.
You have opened the door for Cody to get over on the biggest heel on the show, and for somebody to come in and punch Rhea Ripley in the face, but not have to create a whole feud about it. It just gets to be like a one-night way to get Brandy in.
And it's very organic because she's coming out to defend her husband. So, yeah.
You put her in the front row as if she's there just to be a fan, and then when Rhea starts to get involved, Brandy hops the barricade and lays out Rhea, and now we get Dom v. Cody. I'm here for it.
And by the way, going back to the bloodline that you mentioned, I think they just set up who's going to break up the bloodline, because when it was Jay, I think it was, or Jimmy, who said, if I'm in the bloodline, you're not in the bloodline, to Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's going to break the whole thing up. And that is the ultimate. I mean, all along, you probably thought that would be the guy, and it just makes sense that you use him to break it up. And to what end, I don't know. But it does need to end in the next year at least.
No, I'm telling you where it's at. It's going to end at WrestleMania. It's going to end with
Which
Cody
would be
having
in
his
the
moment
next,
at WrestleMania. Yeah, in the next year.
Yeah.
It's going to end. They're going to get through SummerSlam. They are going to, after SummerSlam, we will have the Uso breakup. Then you'll have like a while of the Usos versus Solo and Roman. At some point, you'll have a Solo turn to come home to his brothers, and then at Wrestle. Now the question is, do you have Jimmy or Jay? Do you have Jay take the belt off of Roman pre-WrestleMania and then have a program with Cody? Do you have him do it at WrestleMania and then Cody gets his crack at Summer? I don't know any of that yet, but here's what I'll tell you. Cody is, you know how you feel that Seth's over because of his song, Not Seth?
Yes.
I feel that way about Cody being a former AEW guy. Cody's not over because he's like a great wrestler. He's gotten significantly better at cutting promos. I will give him that. But he's not over because he's an incredible wrestler. He's over because it's a victory for WWE over AEW, and there are a lot of WWE fans who feel like, no, we own wrestling, not you weirdos over there. This was a coup. That's how I feel, the same way you feel about Seth.
I get where you're coming from, but I don't think the major percentage of people are there or here. I think they're more like watch both products. And I think Cody gets sympathy because of who his dad was for the whole storyline, but mostly he connects with the kids. He's that babyface that's connecting with the kids.
I don't. And here's why. Most wrestling fans who are grown-ups are capable of watching watching both. But what's the largest demographic of wrestling fans? It's kids, right? Scratch that. What's the most important demo to WWE? It's kids. And it is kids who have parents. And for most parents, the wrestling they're going to watch is the wrestling their kids are watching. Let me ask you this, Lonzo. If your kids were 10, would you be letting them watch AEW?
Absolutely not. I was thinking that last night. I was thinking with some of the stuff that went on, especially with MJF, no way I would let my kids watch that.
Right. Absolutely not. AEW is a show for adults who like to watch wrestling. WWE is a show for everybody who likes to watch wrestling. So there are I'm not saying it's most, but there's a huge chunk of WWE fans who feel like AEW is like the ugly stepsister and they deserve to be pushed away, the redheaded stepchild of wrestling. They deserve to be pushed away. And Cody coming back was not only because you didn't just get some AEW guy. You got the guy who announced it, who started it, who wrestled the first match. That's the guy you got. So yeah, you're gonna pump that guy. There, to me, when I think of the great baby faces in history, Cody Rhodes is nowhere on that list.
By the way, I get everything you're saying. I don't entirely agree with you. I think that would apply if and when the bidding war ends with MJF coming to WWE.
Do you believe that's genuine? I believe that
no,
shit.
I believe
think it's
it.
a work.
I think it's a work.
It's great work.
But if
it's
it
a work.
but if it wasn't, what if a work makes its way into a shoot, brother, and they end up paying him the money and he comes there? Then I would agree with you.
First off, I don't even believe his contract's up in 2024. I don't.
It just
Second
rhymes.
off-
It just rhymes. Bidding more in
Right.
2024. Okay.
Second off, if there was a shot, first off, do you think MJF is capable of being MJF in a WWE environment?
No.
No. He can't
but
tell Tony, shut the bleep up, you bleeping mark.
yeah, he could.
Which is one of the greatest AEW moments so far.
He could say that to Hunter.
No, he can't. Not on TV.
Well, I don't know.
And not only
Remember,
not
they
on
got their
TV,
ratings changed, and there's the thing that they may not be on those TV stations by the time 2024 rolls around because their negotiations have broken off about Fox
Sure.
and USA,
But-
and they could get away with that on USA, absolutely, because it's cable.
It's not what they can, it's what they will. And WWE is not.
I don't
shy.
want to see them go back to the Attitude Era.
No,
I don't.
do. It's so much better.
I like having an alternative to watch where I don't have to worry about all that other
Right.
stuff.
And I get that.
I think that caters to a smaller audience that's
Sure.
into that
it
stuff.
literally is AEW.
Right,
That's literally what AEW
right. That's
is,
what I'm
right?
saying. Hey, you've
So-
got that over there, just like you had ECW in the back in the
Correct.
day, which is the same thing that AEW is.
Correct. It's that's AEW is. Yeah, I still want some Attitude Era in my wrestling, so I go over there to AEW, and I don't ask to bring it over into your kid show. I will be happy with the blood and the cussing and the bad words and the sexual gestures over there, and then I'll also come over to WWE for like some good, well-written stories. But WWE uses wrestling to sell toys. That's what they do. They use wrestling to sell merch, and to get you to buy Peacock because they get a cutback or whatever. MJF has no business going to WWE because he can't be. And if he goes over to WWE, imagine a neuter to MJF. Hunter, you stink. Nah. It's the fact that whenever MJF's got a mic, even knowing it's wrestling and fake, I'm still like, oh, let's go. Let's get weird. I love that. There's no bidding war. It's a work. So to me, the whole thing around Cody is we got their guy. And now we're going to make him our guy just to prove that we got the muscle.
Okay, again, I get that, but at the same time, it's more for me. Dusty's son comes back home, went away, proved himself, and came back. And I realize that's the storyline
Sure.
that they're writing, but I'm into that storyline. All right, Sammy and KO against Imperium has been gold. It's been amazing. Fed up KO is like he is the best character on all of wrestling right now. That's not how you're supposed to do it. I just love that.
No one said your name. Why are you here?
Yes.
Why are you here? No one said your Your music didn't play. No one's.
And Sammy trying to tell him, listen, your blood pressure's getting up. You got to stop doing that.
My favorite was the other day when he said, I gotta go check. I can't wrestle. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt, and I gotta go put on different shorts and a different t-shirt. It's so good to listen to him scream as he's walking off. It's such a good character.
And speaking of which, you sent me something, and I saw it on Twitter later of Sammy's t-shirt and his wife asking him, what's this? And it's a footprint. And he said he wrestled Gunther. And every time I see Gunther, I just remember him sitting right over there. And how cool that was. So the question is, are you okay with Gunther losing the belt to Matt Riddle? Because we know he needs to be the world champion. You've got to build him up as the world champion eventually.
No.
So who does he lose it to then?
I honest to God don't know.
Or is he going to be the guy who holds two belts going up? We've had enough of that.
Yeah, I don't necessarily need that again, especially when one of them is a mid-card belt, because then once again, all you're doing is diminishing the product. You know what I would be last night, and I'm only going to take 2 seconds to talk about this to come back. You know what I love last night is that for wrestling to be
You're
real.
going to make me cross things off my list.
No.
that are
I'm
on
really
there.
only mentioning it like this much, and then we'll come back to it. All right, I won't even say what it is. We'll save it. But something happened in wrestling last night that made wrestling feel like a real show. Like this is, okay, they followed a rule. Yes, it led to a very climactic or climactic part, whatever you come from. but it was a rule that happens in wrestling. And it's if we're going to pretend it's legitimate for the sake of suspending disbelief, then yes, if you say that this is a rule, then it should be a rule. And they did that last night. I got zero issue with Gunther literally beating the roster and leaving the belt center ring to challenge Roman or whoever.
All right. So yeah, I agree.
How do you
with
make
there.
him a more believable monster than have him be undefeated and eventually go, I am too good for this belt. I do not want this belt. So I'm trading it to Adam for a title shot, to a front of the line title shot, right? Forget Cody, forget Brock, forget Gunther. I am giving him the which also allows you to have an Intercontinental Championship tournament, which I'm always in for. And then he goes straight to the front of the line as a monster who's never been beat. Let's go.
Well, we already know who he wants to fight because we broke that news here.
Yes, we did.
A few months ago. He wants to go up against Brock, and hopefully he gets to do that eventually because him chopping Brock is something that I want to, and Brock just staring at him as he's doing it. It will be great. By the way, this week of wrestling was good for Raw, for NXT, and for AEW. It was really good. And it's usually one show's good, the other one's okay, but I thought all three shows were really good. The Wesley Tyler Bate and Ali versus Schism match on NXT was excellent. But there's a guy on there who I don't know why he's still on NXT. And that's Joe Gacy. He has, first of all, the gimmick is a great gimmick, but this dude can go. And you could see his progression over the last year or so to being a really good wrestler. And anybody he goes up against, he makes them better, and he looks really good. And I don't know why he's still there. With some of the other talent that moved up, it's like, okay, why not take him? Are you beholden to a gimmick to where you can't move a guy up without moving everyone in the gimmick up?
That one, yes. Because the only option if a cult leader leaves is what? A power struggle between those in the top to become the next leader. Now, to me, you just make Ava Raine the next leader.
You do.
Right? Have the others fall in line. And I think that's a great move. And it gives her the opportunity because I think she's got a lot of potential down the line. If nothing else, she's got great coaching.
I mean, fantasy booking, you take Joe Gacy to the main roster and have him bring back Bray Wyatt. Have him work his spell on Bray Wyatt to get him to come back. I think those two together would be kind of cool.
I think those two together would be great.
Then you get the power struggle there eventually about who's, I would like to see that storyline.
Co-cult leaders.
Yes.
We're co-managers here.
Or you put one cult leader on one show and one on the other.
Yeah.
Speaking of split shows.
Oh, wait a minute. So I think you just pulled it off. I just have a cult. Bray's leading on SmackDown Raw. This cult infects all of the, and Ava's doing the same thing in NXT.
That's what a cult does.
This cult infects all of the, brilliant.
That's what a cult does.
Brilliant.
That's what a cult does. Okay. Since we're running out of time, we need to get to AEW. I want to make sure we get to this. So Tony Khan is saying it's not a brand split, but it kind of is a brand split. So the problem with Saturday night, and this is me personally, all the people I don't like are going to be on Saturday night. But you also look at it, when all those different people walk through that door before they made the announcement, a good portion of them have had trouble backstage, or they've complained about not getting wrestling time. So CM Punk, first and foremost, we know all about that. But El Idolo, where's he been? I mean, Miro, where's he been? And we know they've complained about it. And the former women's champ, where's she been? Hurt, supposedly. And there's been whole shows about people not believing she's really hurt. Why would you put all the outcasts, if you will, all on one show?
Look, I don't pretend to know.
And then you pair CM Punk up with the worst tag team
Lonzo's
in the history.
Most hated faction of all time.
Yeah, it's like, why am I watching this? I'm definitely going to be rooting for the other guys, and I don't even remember who they're going against.
Bullet Club Gold.
Oh, yeah. I'm a Jay White fan now. And Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Who I'm a big fan of. I haven't said this yet because I more wrestling is good. Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays is too much for AEW right now. Okay. It's just too much.
Friday's going to go away.
It's got to.
Yeah.
It's got to. And I imagine it's because their Friday numbers just aren't there.
And it's usually recorded and people already know
Right.
what's happened.
It's Friday's got to go away. Make it Saturday. And I'm even I think it's going to be a struggle on Saturday. But I'm
especially when football rolls back around.
Exactly. I'm willing to give them a shot. We'll see if Collision works. Because I can tell you, listen, that Saturday show, if that Saturday show was in October, I probably can't go. There's probably a game coming on that night. I got
probably there will be.
Right. So I'm intrigued to see. My thought here is by putting all the rebels or whatever is that I suspect Collision is going to be a little bit more edge, and I think they probably tone down Dynamite a little bit. That's my guess. Dynamite becomes a little bit more wrestling is for everybody. And if you want the gratuitous wrestling, Saturday Collision's there for you.
Okay. So I was talking with one of our news people from our sister station, WORD, who's also a wrestling fan. And we were talking about how we hoped that Saturday they would make it more traditional, like the old TBS, WCW, NWA wrestling type stuff. And you're saying you think it's going to go the exact opposite of that.
I mean, I don't know, because if you look at the logo for Collision, it's a 1990s wrestling logo, right? And I love it. I think it's great. So I don't know. Do you create a brand split and have the two brands because it gives you that, like when pay-per-views roll around, you can do it like WWE used to do, where some are SmackDown, some are Raw, but everybody's on the pay-per-view together. Do we do it that way? Do you have Tony come out and goes, all right, whatever show gets better ratings, everybody on that, roster is going to get a check for 100,000. I don't know how they do it or what they do, but I've always said, Lonzo, wrestling is at its best when I don't know what's happening.
There is that. All right. Last thing, Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite. The match was great itself. It really was. These two teams work really well together against each other. But then the run-ins started to happen, including Takeshita comes in, then Kenny Omega comes in. Eddie Kingston does what's considered a run-in or called a run-in, but it's not. It's a wah. If he would have rolled down the ring, he would have got there faster probably. When the wrestlers are waiting for you to get there, maybe you should come out of the crowd or something. Not that you could hide in the crowd. I do not like Eddie Kingston. I've never liked him. I don't think he's that good on the mic, and I don't think he's that good of a wrestler. And he's always in trouble. He should be on Saturday night, but he doesn't get along with any of the people on Saturday night. That's why he probably won't be on there. But that whole thing, the run-ins all made sense, including what Will Ospreay did to Kenny Omega, which was brutal.
Dude. If you have not watched, there's not a lot of New Japan stuff because I've got too much wrestling as it is.
Yes.
With 4 different companies I follow stateside. I know New Japan does some incredible stuff. I just don't have the time to follow it. But go back and watch Omega v Ospreay last time they got together. It is wild, man. It's wild. I cannot wait for that. But with Takeshita coming down, with Eddie coming down, I was so caught up in that when Ospreay showed up. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. This is a thing.
Yeah, it got me. I wasn't expecting. It's like, all right, you got 2 run-ins. You're not going to have another one. And then that's
That you are right. All the shows this week. Can't wait for tomorrow for SmackDown because all the shows this week have been fire. And after Jay hitting, if I'm in the bloodline, Oos, you're out. We're about to get old school with like the big gray cell phone, Paulie dangerously. Can't wait. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show to wrap it all up. It's the Fan Upstate.
Here's the sports flash on the Fan Upstate. The Panthers wrap up mandatory minicamp today. They're set for training camp, which starts in late July. Preseason opener at home August the 12th against the Jets. The regular season opens September the 10th at Atlanta. 2 runs are in. Arcia scores, Pilar will score, and standing at second with a ripping double to right is Michael Harris.
The action on the Braves Radio Network doubleheader sweep on Wednesday over the Tigers. Eddie Rosario hit a tie-breaking homer in the sixth, and the Braves held on to beat the Tigers 6-5 to sweep the doubleheader. In the opener, Michael Harris went 4 for 4 with a home run and 4 RBI. Ronald Acuna Jr. had 3 hits in a 10-7 victory. Elsewhere, the Blue Jays beat the Orioles 3-1. The Red Sox doubled up the Rockies 6-3. The Mets over the Yankees 4-3. The Astros nipped the Nationals 5-4. Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin sports all year long. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Bridget Condon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Stephon Diggs was on the practice field for day 2 of mandatory minicamp after missing Tuesday's session, a situation that Bills head coach Sean McDermott initially called very concerning. McDermott clarified the situation and said Diggs was excused from practice on day 1. He said he gave Diggs some space and let him leave after some conversations the two had. He went on to say that they're in a great spot now. While contract extension talks between the
There's some
Chargers and
conversations.
Herbert are being described as ongoing, Herbert was asked if he'd consider a hold-in situation where he would report to training camp without practicing.
All right.
Herbert said, quote, "It's something that we'll address when the time."
Anytime I talk politics, I always ask people
And as Travis Kelce enters his 11th
to
season, he is asked
tell me
about
one
Kelce
thing
says
that the
he
politician they don't
let
like
Diggs fall off.
did that they truly believe is good. I just found what Joe Biden's is going to be. The White House will announce today that Live Nation and Ticketmaster have agreed to let customers see the full ticket price up front moving forward. So when you go to Ticketmaster, you're not going to buy.
So he's going to get credit for that.
I mean, it happened on his watch.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not
all
saying
right.
he is responsible for it, but he pushed this because he has been anti-junk fees from the beginning.
Do you think he even knows what those services are? I'm just saying, just
One
saying.
of those Joe Cena. He's,
There's no doubt that he's slipping as far as that goes from being old. But no. I'm talking about point of privilege for the majority. We joke about 1%er, but that sort of thing. You get to a point where you don't buy stuff anymore. That's what I'm talking about. So you don't really understand the plight of other people because you've never used the service. That's all I'm talking
I mean,
about.
I obviously don't. I obviously send my butler straight to the theater to buy my
Yeah,
tickets.
which is what you should do.
Comcast will be livid. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Well, the Ticketmaster CEOs and all those guys now automatically vote Republican.
Oh, they already did. They absolutely already did.
No.
Absolutely
I
already did.
seriously doubt that.
Based on what? The owners of those companies?
Because all big business owners are Democrats. Everyone knows that. Without a doubt. Yeah.
I'm from Florida, my dude. That is not the case.
It's odd that you don't think that.
I know.
I bet we could go through a bunch of major corporations and find out what they're.
You know who gave $1 million to Ron DeSantis' campaign when he ran for governor? The owners of Anheuser-Busch.
We're still talking about Florida. I was talking about,
At a national
the
level, it's
owner
no
of Facebook, Democrat or Republican.
Zuckerberg. Let's see if we can find some of Zuckerberg's political donations.
The owner of Apple.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life, celebrating 10 million.
It does not appear that Zuckerberg is known to have given any direct violation or any violations. Might as well be. Donations.
Not all donations are public. I know they're supposed to be, but you got a guy who has a guy who took care of it for you.
Got a guy.
Yeah, you know how that works. In the end, I don't really care because aliens are here and we're all going to die. So it's not going to matter your political affiliation when a ray gun is piercing your brain and frying it.
have a number for us after the show's over.
I'll expect reputable sources. What I consider reputable sources.
National Bureau of Economic Research and researchers at Harvard Law School.
Yeah, that school leans a certain way.
Oh,
Welcome to
Lord.
Twitter Trending Topics, where we talk about what is trending, or Rob will tell us why it's trending. The first thing that's trending is "Don't You Forget About Me."
Down. Hey. Because that movie came out today. No.
Here's the thing. Most people that I try to figure out why, no one can figure out why it's trending, but they really love the song.
Yeah, of course you love the song.
I
It's
mean-
a banger.
I mean, sometimes things trend and you don't know why, and it's just maybe you can find it, but yeah. All
It's
I
a
saw
banger
is
song.
I don't know why it's trending, but I love the song.
We cover that song.
I know. I've
Hard
heard
Rock
you do
Style.
it.
We got some choreography thrown in there and everything.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Phenomenal.
You should check it out. There's
Phenomenal.
video somewhere. All right, the next thing that's trending is Grimace.
Grimace is trending because, McDonald's just brought out the Grimace meal, which is, would you say a Big Mac, 10-piece nugget, large fries?
I don't know if it's
and a
10
purple
piece. It
shake.
might be 6 piece, but it's
Big
some.
Mac.
You get some nuggets.
Unknown quantity.
I am not going to
chicken
call
nuggets,
them nugs. They're nuggets. Okay.
French fries and a purple milkshake. Now that's fine, but have you seen the advertising they're running for this thing?
Yeah, it's a little.
Terrifying.
It's creepy.
Terrifying.
It's not as creepy as old school hamburger, but it's still pretty creepy.
They have in like a 70s camcorder style look, a Grimace sitting at the table. And it's like a mascot Grimace, but like is pretty good. And then across from him is like a young adolescent Grimace with like buck teeth and acne spots on his face and a backwards cap. And then at some point he just turns and stares at the camera. And I'm like, if McDonald's is trying to get into the horror genre, they've done a wonderful job with this commercial.
Well, all those characters have always been. I was more afraid of the Fry Guys than I was any of those people.
Yo, Mayor McCheese was straight up corrupt.
Yeah,
dog.
it's
straight up corrupt.
Well, he's a politician, so absolutely.
Straight up corrupt.
So the reason why it's trending is because they just brought out a Game Boy Color game for Grimace. Yes, a Game Boy Color game for Grimace.
McDonald's.
They're really going nostalgic.
McDonald's
there.
believes AI is about to reset the timeline for us. They're like, let's jump out for when we Back to the Future. By the way, did you know if they made another Back to the Future movie today with the same time spacing they did the OG Back to the Future, it would be set in 1993?
Okay. I'm sorry that makes you feel old, but 93, I would have been.
I was 8.
Yeah, I probably would have been in my. I don't know. I can't do math.
I was 8. I was almost as old as Marty McFly.
Would have been like 20, I think, something like that. All right, and The Flash is trending. Obviously, it comes out today, so that's
Lonzo
why it's
will have a
trending.
spoiler-free review. Actually, on your show, you might do spoilers. You don't care.
No.
You don't care about
not
people's
first week.
feelings.
Not first week. I never do that.
Saturday Night Upstate Pulse 7 to 9. He'll have the spoiler-free. I'm gonna ask him about it tomorrow. Let's be honest. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, thank you all for hanging out with us on a Thursday. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. According to the National Bureau of Economic Research and researchers at Harvard Law School,
Never
as well as
heard of it.
Tel Aviv University,
Oh yeah. Okay, Tel Aviv.
the results of a study is that 18.6% of Fortune 500 CEOs consistently donated to Democrats, while 57.7% routinely donated to Republicans, the rest leaning towards neither party or donating to both.
Okay. Donating to.
60%.
By the way, donating to both is the move to make if you're a CEO.
Yeah.
Because then whoever wins, you're good. I mean, that just from a business standpoint, that makes more sense. I will say that, what'd you say, 18.6? What was the number?
18.6 to Democrats, 57%.
The 18.6 are the most evil.
Wow. Lonzo has decided.
Here's what I will say.
Off.
The 18.6 are probably the most influential out of all the business owners, though.
So I told you no, and then you're like, you have to prove it, and then I did, and then you're like, let me make up
No,
another
you,
thing.
you gave me one source, and with
I gave you 3 sources.
with most, yeah, but from the same story though. I
It's
need,
still 3 sources.
yeah, but still, I need
How many more
multiple
sources
sources.
do you need when they
I-
all agree on a number?
I don't care what side you're on. I want multiple sources.
I just
because,
gave you 3.
yeah, from the same story. I need.
But they're 3 different sources.
I need. If you have 3 sources in the same story, it's technically one source.
No, it's 3 sources.
All right, I want.
So you want me to go pull the article from Harvard Law, from the National Economic Council of Development, and from Tel Aviv University?
And I want to see if they're all
different
presented the same way. You've seen those articles where people, like when a major wrestling thing happens and other people say this was said here and they don't give you credit
On the Robert
for
Brown Show.
yeah that sort of thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for hanging out. You're all spectacular people. We appreciate it. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the Friday edition and the best edition of the Rob Brown Show. Have a lovely day. If you want to come watch some soccer with me later, shoot me a message. Hit me up on Twitter. I'll tell you where I'm going to watch because, yes, I am going to have a whiskey and get through it. Goodbye.
Is that a thing? And get through it? Is that?
Oh, yeah, you
is
gotta
that a
sleep through
saying? Is that?